Welcome to Wednesday Night Football Roundtable. I'm joined tonight by David the Logical. How you doing, David?
Hey, I'm doing good, Sean. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. We get to break Eric's stones here tonight, which makes me very, very happy. So, okay, Paul, there you go. Go Saints, go Red Sox, screw the rest. Exactly. Screw the Celtics. My Knicks came out. They were getting blown out by 20, and they came back and they won. So
there you go.
All right. So anyway,
did the Red Sox win today?
I don't know.
I don't know, Paul. Let us know. Yeah. I know. I only follow. I just check the scores, but I don't really follow it all too much.
There's 194 games a season, for God's sake. I mean, come on. Cut that down to 120. Make it a real season. You know, it starts too early. It goes too late. The only thing I can say is the pitch clock is the only thing when I'm sitting there with my father having dinner and I have to watch baseball. At least the game moves now. So,
hey, you know, I want to ask Paul a question, seeing as how he jumped on real quick before we get into our topics.
Yeah.
Hey, what do you think about Tyler Show or Tyler Shook in New Orleans? You think he's going to be starting week 1? That's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
I think it'd be better than Desmond Ridder.
Well, it's definitely better than David Carr.
Well, Eric, yeah. You mean, what you call it? Yeah. Not David Carr, the other one, Derek Carr.
Oh, they're a couple of fucking D's.
It's
a bag of D's. It's a bag of D's. Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
Yeah, I know. So let's go. Let's go.
Paul is a little behind, so when he has a chance to answer, we'll interrupt our conversation about Shook. So the big news today was George Pickens, the wide receiver for the Steelers, got traded to the Dallas Cowboys for a 3rd round pick next year and a 5th round pick in 2027. Dave, I'll let you start because I have my own shit in this stuff.
The minute they traded for DK Metcalf, everybody saw this trade coming. Most everybody. Some people thought that Metcalf and Pickens would coexist and they'd have 1,500 yards receiving apiece and 10 touchdowns apiece and so on and so forth. But the writing was on the wall probably about week 12 of last season, if not earlier. You know, George Pickens is a talented wide receiver. He's a great wide receiver, terrible personality, terrible in the locker room. He's a diva that doesn't deserve to be a diva. You know, you can have all the ability and you can have all the faith in your ability that you want. I guess until you really go out and prove it. And I mean by that, you know, put up the 1,500 yards, put up the 12 touchdowns, do the things that wide receivers that you think you are supposed to do. Then maybe you can have that attitude. It's going to be interesting where he's going because he's going to have to realize that he ain't going to be the top dog there either. So you would hope something like that would humble a player, and I don't think that he's humbleable, I guess, if that's a proper word. I don't know if it is, but I just don't think he's that type of player who's going to, you know, get it. And I think he's always going to have this attitude. And I think it's going to shorten his NFL career because teams just won't put up with it. You can be as good as you want. You either learn to be humble or you're not going to be in this league long. Period.
Yeah. I heard about this first thing this morning. It's how I woke up. Actually, my phone pinged, and I just cut off the chat notification for our show here.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, what the hell is going on? So I picked up my phone, and at 4:00 in the morning, I read about this. This has catastrophe for me written all over. Not that the Cowboys were looking to be anything great this year. I think I'm a Cowboy fan, and I have been ever since I was a very small child. Oh God. I don't see this as a good fit. I don't understand what Jerry Jones is doing. I don't think Jerry Jones understands what the hell he's doing anymore. He seems to be out of it. I mean, if this works out, I mean, this is a very powerful receiving core.
Sure.
You got CD Lamb on one side, you got Pickens on the other, you got Tolbert and Turpin, you're in your slot receivers.
Mm-hmm.
You got the tight end. Is it Ferguson?
Yeah, Jake Ferguson.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really, really awesome.
They got Javonte Williams from Denver, the running back. So, if he can revitalize his career, I think the one thing for me when I sit there and I look at this trade, and I look at what they gave up to get him, to me, the Cowboys are going to be having to deal with a lot of stuff because you already paid CD Lamb a lot of money. You still have to give Micah Parsons a contract. You still have to give Tyrone Smith, the left tackle, a contract. George Pickens is in the last year of his deal, and you're either going to have to sign him to a contract or you're going to have to tag him or you're going to have to let him walk as a free agent, depending on what happens. And you gave up a third-round draft pick in next year's draft. You have a lot of eggs in a basket that you haven't even pulled out and broke and tried to straighten out on your own team. And you're bringing in these other players without locking up the core of your team. Now, Jerry Jones said he had a couple trades in the works. This could be trade one. Could Micah Parsons be a trade? Could Micah Parsons be the other part that's leaving Dallas? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm just very interested to see the dynamic of where this goes because, like I said, the money is George Pickens wants $30 million contract. It ain't going to happen in Dallas, and you can't pay two wide receivers that kind of money. And I'm not saying that George Pickens is worth $30 million, but you give up a premium draft pick for a guy who's on basically a 1-year deal, and I don't know. I don't think Dallas is close to contending in that division. So you're giving up a premium pick on a guy that you're hoping that's going to elevate your team somewhat, and more importantly, how a guy like Schottenheimer, a first-time head coach ever, is going to be able to deal with that locker room with those two type of wide receivers. And I'm not saying CeeDee Lamb is an issue. I'm saying George Pickens. And I'm just thinking that dynamic with the receiver who's always complaining that he's not getting the ball thrown to him, he's not getting this, he's not getting that. I'm going to be very interested to see what happens and what goes on inside that locker room. It's going to be a very interesting dynamic.
Yeah, Schottenheimer, as I always say, what's the name of the Dallas Cowboys head coach? It's who gives a shit.
Right.
But he did this week. He put Micah Parsons and Dak Prescott's lockers right next to each other. And he's like, this is where you're going to have your locker. You have no say about it. These are our two core people who are going to be running the team or going to be your captains. And there it is. I mean, maybe he has something. I don't know. Do I think switching lockers is going to be the answer to the Cowboys' problems? No. I think Dallas comes in third in the NFC East. If anything, if they make the playoffs, it would surprise me this year because they have talent. They just don't have enough of it.
Yeah.
And
Again, I think that division is going to be hard. Again, it's going to depend on the rest of the NFC. I think a lot will depend on what Minnesota does, whether they stay where they were at or whether they regress with JJ McCarthy. I think from a wild card standpoint, I think the NFC is more wide open.
Yep.
Because when you look at it, the NFC West, which was a powerhouse before, is a division in flux. The NFC North, that was a bad division historically, with the emergence of Detroit and Minnesota, that division's elevated, and you see what's going to happen with Chicago. Again, it's that maintenance of the Vikings with JJ McCarthy. See where they go, if they stay where they're at or if they regress. The NFC South there could be 4 teams that finish with the losing record, and one of them is automatically going to make the playoffs. I mean, that's just how I look at the NFC South. There's no clear cut. I mean, Tampa, but other than that, there's nobody in that division. So, I mean, theoretically, if Dallas plays it right and they assemble the talent and they have a good year, I mean, theoretically they could be a wild card team. But we'll see what happens. That locker room dynamic is going to be interesting to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Now with the Pickens trade, David and I talked about this for a second, but then the new rumor going on is that Pittsburgh is getting close to Aaron Rodgers. It's going to happen. It's just when does it happen? But now they're also talking, well, they could possibly, to replace Pickens, could go after a number 2 receiver, and that receiver could be Alan Lazard from the Jets, who used to be on Green Bay. Again, another one of Aaron Rodgers' boy toys, as we say.
To sit there and say that he would be a number 2 receiver is bad. If that's the number 2 you're going to get, that's bad. I mean, look at, the Steelers were 16th in scoring offense at 22 points a game. They were 27th in passing yards at 192 yards a game. They were in 28th, I think, or 29th in total yards a game. It's, man, I don't know. The Pittsburgh is an anomaly to me. If you're doing all this stuff, your best bet would be to go with Will Howard and build your team and let your rookie quarterback come in, go through the growing pains of having a rookie quarterback start, have him play, have him get experience, and build your team the right way. To bring in a 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers, it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, if you were going to bring Aaron Rodgers in because you think you can compete, then you keep George Pickens and you make the locker room work, or you deal with what you have to deal with. To me, getting rid of George Pickens to bring in Alan Lazard because he's Aaron Rodgers' favorite receiver, that's going to get him 400 yards and maybe a touchdown or 2. Baffling. It's just baffling to me.
Now, Eric just texted me, and he said that if Alan Lazard was to become a Pittsburgh Steeler, he will have 1,600 yards and 12 touchdowns this season. Okay, so Eric will keep an eye out for that.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
That's interesting.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Next is Justin Tucker getting released from Baltimore.
Yep.
My personal opinion, this was a month and a half too late. You know, I really don't know what to say about this because he is such a great kicker, although he had a bad year last year. But these are the type of issues, the NFL tends to overlook a lot of stuff. And could Justin Tucker end up on someone else's team? Possibly. But with this kind of stuff, oh God, I was going to say something and I can't because it'll piss off a lot of people. There was an organization that when they had people who would do things like this, they would just move them around.
Mm-hmm.
It was okay. I don't believe in that, and Justin Tucker's career needs to be done. And if once you get a whiff of these things, if it's not stopped, i.e. the Deshaun Watson thing, if Deshaun Watson all of a sudden does this again, I mean, how much liability do you really open yourself up to because you knowingly employed this person?
Well, again, to me, Sean, this goes to the standard in football and the double standard in football.
Yeah.
You cut Justin Tucker because he's a kicker. If this was your quarterback, if this was Lamar Jackson, he'd be on the team, and it's that simple. You cut Justin Tucker because he's a kicker. The same reason Buffalo, when they drafted Matt Araiza, the punter, and those allegations came out, they cut him. They didn't give him due process because the fact of the matter is the NFL is a business, and the fact is nobody wants the headache of having to talk about their field goal kicker with 15 sexual harassment charges. Deshaun Watson had 25 or 26 or 30. But Deshaun Watson's a quarterback, and he's the thing that makes the NFL go. So you don't cut him. You pay him $250 million to pay off his victims. That's what you do to Deshaun Watson. It's the double standard in football. If you're in a position or you are a position, this to me is nothing more than Shedeur Sanders getting drafted in the 5th round. You are drafting a backup quarterback. Why do you want the attention on your backup quarterback? It's you as a team. You are bringing in the drama of the media every day, asking about your backup or third string quarterback. And if you're on a team that doesn't have a set franchise guy, every time there's a bad play, every time there's a bad throw, every time there's this or that or whatever, you're going to have to hear about bring in Shedeur. When is Shedeur coming in? Why are you going to start him? When are you going to start him? So the NFL is a business. Nobody wants to deal with the kicker facing 15 sexual harassment allegations. So the best thing to do is get rid of them. And it's that simple. I mean, that's just the life we live. And it's unfortunate because, whether he did it or not, and he says he didn't, and unlike Deshaun Watson, Justin Tucker isn't paying any of these people off. He's fighting it. Deshaun Watson paid off these people. So they say paying off somebody doesn't prove your guilt or innocent or whatever. Justin Tucker's fighting the charges and trying to fight it because he wants to be innocent. Because if he is innocent, then it's a shame that Baltimore got rid of him. If it was purely a football decision, fine. I don't think it was. And I believe that the struggles that Tucker went through last year that people talk about had a lot to do with what was going on and the things that he was hearing. You can't not have that affect you in some way, regardless, whether you're innocent or not. You can't.
Yeah, I mean, and I did think about that today, and one of my favorite football movies is The Replacements.
Mhm.
And when the mob is in there because they want their money and he needs to screw it up, that kind of, I was like, wow, I wonder if Justin Tucker felt like that. Not that, people were going to beat him up or whatever, but I mean, that shit, you don't get away from,
No.
and he's married, so then, he's got the wife and the kids and the whole thing just calming down on him. Huge. So that could have,
Sure.
that could have led to some of his troubles this year.
I mean, and again, and I'm not going to belabor this, but here, perfect case in point. The NFL has film of Rashee Rice getting in an accident, speeding, leaving the scene of an accident with a gun in his hand in a car, causing an accident and causing injury to a child, and they haven't done anything yet.
Sure.
And again, this isn't the NFL who got rid of Justin Tucker. I'm just saying that, the NFL lets things play out. I think the Ravens did this because you're a kicker, and I can draft a kicker and replace a kicker, and I don't have to deal with the stuff that comes along with having to sit up here and answer questions about Justin Tucker and his allegations week in and week out.
So, right. Yeah. We could easily get rid of the distraction in the locker room by just simply letting him go and replacing. Right. Absolutely. And it's a lot like, Ray Rice. He got filmed in an elevator kicking the crap out of his girlfriend. And they let him go. But then he did come back and play for a couple more teams.
I don't know if he did. I don't think he ever played football again.
No, he
never. No, he never played football again.
Okay. So again, he went to Kansas City for. Yeah.
So again, it's just the standard that the NFL has. And again, and even in the Ray Rice incident, it wasn't the NFL who got rid of him. The Ravens got rid of him. So I mean, again, if the organization is consistent in how they deal with these, that's fine. And I'm not saying that Lamar Jackson's done anything, so please don't sit there and think that I'm saying this, but I would just be very, very interested if it was somebody like a Lamar Jackson, how the Ravens would approach that situation. It would be an interesting dilemma for them because they've already set the standard in their organization, whether it's Ray Rice, Justin Tucker. If it were to be a Lamar Jackson, and again, I'm not saying Lamar Jackson's ever done any of these things, so I'm just using it as a predicate for if that were to be, I would like to see what they would do.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
No.
And last bit of news I want to hit on before we go to our regrading of the 2024 draft. There is $100 million lawsuit filed by someone in Georgia against the NFL for the Shedeur Sanders sliding down to the 5th round. And the complaint was filed in forma pauperis, which means the plaintiff lacked the financial means to pay the filing fee. Okay, sorry, that was not it. Basically, he's charging the NFL with inflicting emotional distress and trauma to him as a fan and a consumer. Because this is frivolous, obviously. I think it makes a point, but it is frivolous. And
I don't think it makes any point. Look at, yeah, I'm a fan. Buffalo didn't draft whoever, so I'm going to sue the NFL because Buffalo didn't draft a guy. Or Tom Brady didn't get drafted to the 6th round, and he was the greatest quarterback of all time. I want to sue him because he wasn't a 1st-round draft pick. And give me a break. It's freaking dumb.
This makes a very simple point. Fuck you. I know more than you do, and I have a podcast, bitch. That's what we do every week because these jackholes who fucking talk all this shit, they don't know anything more than me or David. Well, they probably know a little more than David, but definitely not more than me.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
So.
But no, and one last thing, Gabe Davis was released by the Jaguars after a year after signing that big $69 million contract or whatever the heck it was, whatever they paid him.
Who's gonna pick that up?
Well, I don't think they'll have to pick it up. He'll clear waivers, but I will say one team
so they still owe the money.
Yeah, he got like three or 4 million of his guarantee he gets to keep. It'll only be so much of a cap charge this year, and then next year it'll be dead money. So much of dead money this year and next year. So it's not a big hit because he wasn't guaranteed a lot of money. But in the realm of Gabe Davis, when I look at teams, there's one team out there that I really think could benefit from having a Gabe Davis on their team, and that is the Cleveland Browns. He's not the most consistent receiver. He does drop passes. But when you look at the Cleveland Browns wide receiver group, you have Jerry Jeudy and I can't name one.
No.
I not off the top of my head. They didn't address wide receiver in the league or in the draft. So when I look at a team who is going to have a Joe Flacco, a veteran, or a young quarterback if they beat him out, I think having a guy like Gabe Davis, I know it's funny to even think about that.
I mean, these names you're putting out, oh my God.
I know. Back when Roman Gabriel was playing,
Jesus Christ.
But no, I know it's sad, but when you got Dylan Gabriel, you got Shedeur Sanders, or you got Joe Flacco throwing the ball, you're going to need more than Jerry Jeudy on that team. And a name that when he got released, that's the first team I thought of was Cleveland could do a hell of a lot worse because there ain't a hell of a lot left.
You're right. Cleveland could not do a hell of a lot worse. No offense, but they could hire me as a wide receiver, and they wouldn't do worse.
No, exactly.
But Gabe Davis was a Buffalo Bill, and he was a very good Buffalo Bill. When I let him go, I couldn't believe it.
He's just a little. He was inconsistent. I mean, he had drops, and he had some hard time separating. But he had some great games too. I mean.
Right.
He caught that 98-yard touchdown pass. The playoff game against Kansas City, the guy had 4 touchdown receptions, 200 yards almost, or over 200 yards. And that's what got him paid the first time he stayed in Buffalo. So, again, it's one of those things where he just lacked the consistency. So,
sure.
So we'll see.
Just came in. Eric has texted me that Gabe Davis will be the number 3 receiver in the Pittsburgh Steelers offense, but he will gain 1,350 yards and 11 touchdowns. So there we go. Eric, you now have a complete receiver core.
Wow.
All right. Okay, so let's move on to the 2024 draft because we did the 2025 draft and trying to rank it, who did well, who didn't. And let's take a look here. I printed out all the teams' draft picks. It's 32 teams. It's probably 22 sheets of paper, and I cut out a lot of the fluff. I kind of went with the rankings as it is now. So if you want to, we'll go down the rankings. Unless David, you want to do something else?
No, go ahead, and I'll give my opinion based on their ranking.
Okay. The number 1 rank was the Washington Commanders for last year. Getting Jaden Daniels. That was huge. They picked up the Newton, the defensive tackle, cornerback, Sinat, the tight end, McCaffrey, wide receiver, Hampton, the safety.
Sanistrell?
I'm sorry?
They got Sanistrell, the cornerback, right?
The corner, yeah. He got they got him in round 2. So overall, very effective draft. I mean, they went from worst in the NFC to NFC Championship game.
Right.
I mean NFC East, worse than the NFC East. So I definitely, I put that number one.
I mean, when you look at that, if I was grading that draft, I mean, Jaden Daniels themselves gives them an A. I mean, so again, that's a no-brainer. I think Washington did very well. They picked up their positions that they needed. I think having a new coach last year helped them as well. So definitely a grade when it comes to the draft.
Okay, in second place, the Los Angeles Rams.
Yep.
They got Jared Verse, awesome. Fiskey the tackle.
Yep.
Running back Corum, they didn't really. Yeah. And Kitchens a safety.
Yep.
I mean, they had a lot of picks.
Yeah. I mean, they were solid, and they had a lot of contributors. I mean, Blake Corum even contributed when Karen Williams went down, and he was a good change of pace back. But yeah, when you look at Jared Verse, defensive rookie of the year, they hit on that, especially when they had to replace Aaron Donald, and they did so brilliantly. So definitely. I would almost, if it wasn't for the fact that Jaden Daniels was taken, I would almost have said that the Rams had the best draft through and through.
And Bo Limmer, is it Limmer or Limer, the center? Mm-hmm. He was drafted in round 6. He ended up starting 14 games for him.
Yep. No,
a lot of the people they drafted actually played year 1. Okay, so now rank number 3. The Los Angeles Chargers. This one I'm kind of like, but you look at the names. They got Joe Alt.
Sure.
Started all games. McConkey. I mean, come on. That kid smoked it.
Absolutely.
But the rest of their team, the best other player on the team was Cam Hart, the corner, who started 6 starts. But guy in the 3rd round, Colston, the linebacker, he started 1 game. The defensive tackle in round 4, he didn't start any. So
I mean, I don't know if I would give the Chargers the 3rd best. I mean, the 2 guys, Alt and McConkey, obviously they were key to their team even being where they were. Yeah. But I don't know if you could take those 2 players and say, because those 2 players, I mean, but they were extremely impactful. I mean, not going to lie. I mean, McConkey was huge, and Alt was an anchor. So,
they didn't have shit for wide receiver last year.
No.
They almost made the playoffs. They were terrible the year before. They were down 69-0, and fucking guy runs for a first down and starts showing off that he got a first down. Honestly, a good draft for them. Even though it's only 2 players, still to hit on 2 players in a draft is good.
Sure.
Okay, so we go to rank 4. The Las Vegas Raiders. Brock Bowers. Period.
Yep.
I mean,
sure.
I was happy the Jets passed on him. I am so pissed off the Jets passed on him now.
Oh, yeah.
I hate tight ends in the 1st round. I hate that. This guy was a stud.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, this guy was a tight end wide receiver. I mean, he could have done for all the teams that passed on.
Yeah. And in round 2, they got Powers Johnson, the inside linebacker. Great. The offensive tackle, DJ Glaze.
Yep.
Played well. And even in the 4th round, they got Richardson, the corner, who played in 12 games, started 7.
And again, I would almost put the Raiders ahead of the Chargers, not based on their finish, but just what they hit on in the draft. You know what I mean? And the things that they needed. I mean, again, obviously the Chargers needed wide receiver help. They needed offensive line help. But if I'm not mistaken, didn't Justin Herbert get hurt last year as well? So even adding Joe Alt to the offensive line, you still ended up with the quarterback who ended up being injured.
Yeah.
So again, I do like the Raiders draft, and I think it boded well for what they did this year as well. So,
Right. And they graded, because this is as of a couple of weeks ago, they graded the Raiders draft class at an A minus.
mm-hmm.
I think that's an A.
Oh,
Period.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so then let's go on to the fifth.
Rank 5. Also an A minus. The Buccaneers. The center, Barton, 16 games, 16 starts.
Mm-hmm.
Braswell, the outside linebacker, did not play. McMillan, the wide receiver.
He was key. He was key down the end after Godwin got hurt.
Yep. Irving, Bucky Irving, running back.
Oh yeah, yep. He was huge too.
Yeah. They really didn't then start anybody else, but overall, I mean.
Overall, I think for value and where they got those players who were contributors, definitely put them in that conversation.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the 6th, another A minus. These are all
A minuses now.
the New York Giants.
Yeah, absolutely.
Malik Neighbors, Tyler Newman.
Yep.
Andrew Phillips played 14 games. Johnson, the tight end.
Yep.
12 games, 11 starts. Tyrone Tracy, the running back.
Yep.
Hell of a season.
Sure. Again, and it's hard as a running back to go in there and replace Saquon Barkley. Not that anybody could, but I mean, he had a pretty good rookie season, all things considered, based on the team he played on.
Yeah, and a terrible fucking team at that. Yep. And then even in the 6th round, they found value. Masau, the linebacker. I don't know how to, played in 15 games. He had 7 starts, and that's a 6th round pick.
Sure.
I would give Giants an A on this one. I don't think A minus is justified. Okay, here we go. Rank 7, the fucking Philadelphia Eagles. Fucking Paoli. Hot Pockets. Shit. They got Quentin Mitchell, cornerback, 1st round. And they got Cooper DeJean.
Felix Hunt. They got Shipley. Aeneas Smith.
Trotter, linebacker, Keegan.
I mean, I think this grade would have been higher had DeJean not been injured and was able to play more regular season games.
Yeah.
So I think based on the production that they got from DeJean last year, which was minimal, I honestly think that this draft class would have been rated higher than 7 or whatever number we're on. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, he had a hell of a Super Bowl.
Sure.
Okay, now we're out of the A minuses. We're on the B pluses. I don't know if I agree with this one, but it's tough. You probably know more than I do, David.
San Francisco 49ers.
They got Pearsall, the 1st round.
Who did they get? Ricky Pearsall. Yeah.
Yeah.
He would have been better had he not got shot.
Sure.
And then Bernardo Green, Dominic Puni.
Yeah. Isaac Garundo.
Yeah, Garundo is in round 4. They picked him up. Mustafa as a safety.
Yep.
Cowing as a wide receiver. Played in 15 games, but with all that shit that was going on there.
I think it was a solid class. I mean, yeah, again, I think you look at Pearsall and you see what happened to him. Gruendo obviously played a factor with McCaffrey being out. So I think the players that they drafted, in the roles that they were put in, I think they performed admirably and well. Again, I think what you look at, and when you see their draft, knowing where they were drafting last year, which was at the end of the first round, or in 24, because they had gone to the Super Bowl and lost to Kansas City. You look at the values of their picks and where they were. I think they got pretty good production from the guys that they drafted where they were drafting in the draft. So it's not a bad draft. Again, it's hard to get those high impact players when you're drafting in the later rounds and at the end of the round.
Yeah, they really hit in round 4 because they got Mustafa, Grando, and Cowley, and they all played almost every single game.
Yep.
All right, so next B plus, at rank number 9 is the Baltimore Ravens. They had Wiggins, first rounder, Rosengarten as the offensive tackle, round 2. Isaac didn't play that much. Devontae Walker.
We like Devontae, don't we?
Well, I like Devontae. I'm just really surprised that he couldn't crack the lineup, and that offense is so hard. It's so hard to be a wide receiver in that offense because you can be multi-talented, but when you're dealing with the running game that you have and the way your offense is designed, it doesn't leave room for a lot of offensive players outside of your running backs and quarterback really to shine.
Yeah.
And so it's just tough to crack that lineup, man. But I'll tell you, I mean, Wiggins was a great pickup by Baltimore. They hit where they had to. And obviously they finished first in the AFC North, so they were doing something right.
Yeah. And they also picked up some value in the 7th round. Sadusi Kane, the safety.
He played in 15 games, so I'm thinking he's a part of a nickel package.
Yeah.
So not a bad draft class by the Baltimore Ravens. And I'm interested because KD was so high on Ravens this year. Next year when we do this show, how they actually did. Okay, rank 10. We're still at B plus. The Green Bay Packers. Jonathan Morgan, offensive line. Adrian Cooper, linebacker. Bullard, defensive back. Tyron Harper, linebacker. Played in 17 games. Evan Williams, safety. Jacob Monk did pretty well. And round 7, they shit out, but that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, it's not bad.
Yeah. I'll take it. I mean, it's nothing glamorous, It's not like they picked a great offensive player. That's the thing is, unless you're, a defensive end or like some crazy person on defense, it's really, how does your offense do? And that's the people we talk about. But it is what it is. Okay, so this one got me perplexed. Again, these are all coming from NFL.com. Rank 11. The Denver Broncos got a B.
I thought they'd be higher.
I thought they'd be higher too. I guarantee they did not have a B after the draft last year. I don't think anyone had them at a B. But Bo Nix.
Sure.
Who you could shit out this year and maybe just be a one-hit wonder. But
you could say that about any quarterback. I mean, Jaden Daniels. I mean, you looked at what happened to C.J. Stroud after his phenomenal rookie year.
Sure.
So again, all these quarterbacks can flame out. I mean, again, I look at the coaching staff. Again, I will give C.J. Stroud the benefit of the doubt. Last year, I mean, you lose Tank Dell, you lose Stephon Diggs, you lose Nico Collins, you lose your entire starting wide receiver core at some point during the season. That's hard to overcome. I don't care. You could be Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. If you have 3 of your top 4 receivers go down to injury for extended periods of time, that's a hard thing to bounce back from. I don't care how good you are.
Excellent. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then
They didn't have a second round pick.
Mm-hmm.
so in round 3 they went with Jonah Ellis. Played 17 games. Troy Franklin, the wide receiver.
Yep.
Audric
Estime. Yeah, the running back.
Yeah, 13 games, good. And then in the round 7, they got Valet. Is it Valet or Valet or
Yeah,
whatever?
yeah, the wide receiver.
Yeah, played 13 games. And that's in round 7.
Yeah, and I think towards the end of the season, I think he was important in like 3 of those games where they came back and won.
Sure.
And so yeah, I would have given them more of a B plus.
Yeah,
a B plus to A minus. Yeah, I mean, because look at the deal. Here's the deal for me. They were close to beating Kansas City twice. They should have beat them once. And Kansas City was the class of the NFL. And you did that with a lot of these rookies that you drafted last year. They were key contributors to that success.
Yeah.
So yeah, this ranking should definitely be higher than what it is.
I agree. I totally agree. Mm-hmm. All right, continuing with the B grades. Ranked 12, Pittsburgh Steelers. Troy Fountain, offensive tackle.
Did he play? Did one game, right?
That's fucking it.
Yep.
I don't understand this grade at all, but let me continue. Zach Frazier, the center.
15 games, 15 starts. Okay, and that's replacing Pouncey, right?
No, it wasn't Pouncey. It was somebody else. I forget who, but Pouncey retired a couple years prior.
2 years before. Yeah, but they were still looking for a replacement.
Yeah, they were still looking for a replacement.
He came through.
Yeah.
Roman Wilson, the wide receiver, 1 game, no starts. Peyton Wilson, linebacker, 17 games. He played in 4 starts.
Mason McCormick,
a guard, who played in 17 games, 14 starts, and then they shit out in the 6th round. I don't think B is worth that at all.
I don't think so either.
I'm thinking that's C.
Yeah.
C plus.
That's a C plus, if that. I mean, the names are good. They have the potential, but how you grade a draft a B when you basically got production from 2 of your top 4 or 5 picks,
right? And this is looking at what they did last year, and that's what.
If they got a B from last year, this grade is way off, off. I don't know who is grading it. Probably Steelers Depot, because you don't get 2 out of your top 5 draft picks that contributed and you get a B.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you're grading them on it, to me, this should be an incomplete. I mean, if you can grade incomplete, I would grade it incomplete, because you don't have any resume to go on other than where they were drafted in the draft. Yeah. Roman Wilson was nothing. Fasciano was nothing. Zach Martin, I don't understand that grade at all. He must called Eric.
I should have looked at who this was done by. It probably was Eric.
Steelers grades by Eric Witt.
There you go. So in rank 13, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They also got a B. Brian Thomas Jr. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Mason Smith, the defensive tackle.
Yep.
Jerrion Jones. Javon Foster, Jordan Jefferson, Deontay Prince, Keelan Robinson. Oh, Cam Little was their kicker, 17 games he played in. And Miles Cole, the defensive end. I don't see this as being a B either.
Well, I do only I do because of the production you got from Brian Thomas Jr. And that's why I sit there and I kind of find it funny because I can look at the top two picks that Jacksonville had, and they got more production than Pittsburgh out of their top five. And Brian Thomas Jr. Did he not win Offensive Rookie of the Year? Or what? No, was that Brock Bowers?
I do not know.
I think Thomas Jr. got Offensive Rookie of the Year, but regardless, he might not have. It might have been neighbors. I don't know. But at the end of the day, that Brian Thomas Jr. pick alone, I would have given them a B plus.
Okay.
I just that's where I went. I mean, it's only a plus to a B, but you know, and you got to remember, Trevor Lawrence got hurt, and Brian Thomas was making plays by Blaine Gabbert.
Offensive Rookie of the Year. Come on, it was. We all know who that was. Jaden Daniels.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah. Yeah, he wasn't even on the list.
All
right, I'm going to grab a beer real quick, but I'm going to go over rank 14. The Tennessee Titans, draft class grade B. They had Latham, the offensive tackle, started all 17. Devontae Sweat, defensive tackle, played in 17, started 16. Cedric Gray played 7 games. Jarvis Brownlee Jr. played all 17, started 14. Jaquan Jackson, wide receiver, played 12. And then in the 7th round, Jalen Harrell, outside linebacker, played in 17 games. That's pretty good. And James Williams, a linebacker, played 13 games and started 1. That's not a bad class.
No, it's not a bad draft class, and it also set up their it basically set up their team for what they're doing this year and the ability to go in with the Cam Ward and do the things you have to do. It kind of sets up the foundation for what you're trying to build as a team. So when I look at a team like Tennessee, I think overall, from an overall standpoint, I think they did a very good job of building for the future. They got their new coach last year, and you've set up a nice foundation to take the next step. So I think they could have been ranked a little higher just based on the foundational pieces they draft. There wasn't anybody that was, earth shattering or anything like that. But I think if you look at it from an objective point of view, and I'm sure NFL.com does, and I get it, but I kind of look at what I'm building when you're looking at a team that was in a rebuilding phase. And you look at those foundational pieces that they laid to lay the net to get to the next level. And I think they did a pretty decent job of getting those foundational pieces. Not everything's going to be a home run. Not everything's going to be a bona fide superstar. But if you have that solid foundation, I would rank them a little higher. I would probably rank them ahead of Pittsburgh. But again, a B is a B is a B. I think it's just in that order. But I just look at the foundation that Tennessee's building, and I think they're on their way. And I think it paved the next steps for this year.
And Tennessee was not as bad as their record.
No,
the Tennessee Titans, if Ward works out, has a huge debt to pay to Will Levis.
Yeah. Well, again, I think that was their Achilles heel. I think their quarterback situation was in flux. They went from Will Levis to the savior in Pittsburgh, Mason Rudolph, back to Will Levis. And again, I think that, I look at the Tennessee Titans, and I don't want to bring it up, and I'm not saying this from a Bills fan perspective, but I look at the Tennessee Titans and I say it's almost like they followed the model of what Buffalo did in 2017. And I'm not saying they had the opportunity to draft a quarterback. They drafted one the year prior in Will Levis. But I think what they did is they recognized that you have to have the foundation set up. So when you're going to bring in that young quarterback, you gave Will Levis another year to prove himself. And now that he went out and flamed out, you've laid a foundation where now you can bring in your guy that you really think is that franchise quarterback, because you got to remember also that Will Levis was brought in under the previous coaching staff. He was brought in under what's his name? Vrabel. So this new front office and coaching staff went out and got the players that they wanted to identify as building blocks and a foundation to move the franchise forward. And I think that's what they did. They didn't panic and say Will Levis is not our guy and we're going to go reach for a quarterback in the draft or mortgage the future. They were methodical, they were steady, and they built a foundation. And then this year they had the opportunity to draft Cam Ward, number 1 overall. They identified it and did it. And so I think it was a very smart, strategic draft they did the year before, and it laid a decent foundation to hopefully for them to build upon.
And the one thing is, Will Levis lost 2 games to the Tennessee Titans in their first 4. That's stupid ass play at Chicago, and the stupider play. Stupider is not even a word, but I'm going to use it anyway. Against the Jets.
Yep.
The Jets should not have won that game by no means, and neither should Chicago.
Right.
And Will Levis made those 2 mistakes, which cost them the game. Okay, so speaking of that, rank 15. Now we're getting into the B minuses, and I have a lot to say about this one. The Chicago Bears. They go out and they draft Caleb Williams and Rabadunze. Jesus. Can I buy a consonant, please? Amagadaji, something like that. Then in round 4, they found real value with Torrey Taylor, the punter, and Austin Booker, defensive end. They were graded a B minus. I give an overwhelming grade of an F to the Chicago Bears in this draft. They should have traded that number 1 pick away, let someone else, and they already had a crap load of first-round draft picks. They could have traded back, gotten another first-round pick in the top 10, plus another pick for the next top number 1 pick for the next 2 years. They could have stacked their team. They had the whole future in front of them. Just stick with Justin Fields. And
I disagree with you, and here's why I say that. There was no better quarterback coming out in this draft than Caleb Williams this year. There was no better quarterback. Not Cam Ward. Not there was. You
don't know that.
I think I do. I think
Okay.
I do. I mean, I think I do. Again, the proof will be in the draft and what happens. But
you're going Mel fucking Piper on me, aren't you?
No, I'm saying this, that from, and we saw it with the draft. The pundits, the us's, the podcasters of America thought Shedeur Sanders should be the second quarterback taken. Okay. Everybody was high on Shedeur. We're not NFL GMs. We're not NFL scouts. We're not NFL anything. We are people who give opinions. So when I look at this draft class, based on based on everything that I've seen from every NFL GM, there was only one bona fide starting caliber quarterback today in this draft, and that was Cam Ward. So, do I say that the Bears get an F? No. I think the Bears, from advanced scouted and said, Justin Fields is definitely not our guy for the future, for the long term. If we trade down and get all these draft picks, we still don't answer the question of our quarterback because, number one, and quite frankly, it came down to if we pick up Justin Fields' fifth-year option, we're going to have to pay him, or if we decide that Justin Fields is our quarterback, we're going to have to do what the New York Giants did and pay $45 or $50 million to Justin Fields. And he's not worth it. So strategically, Chicago did great. I give Chicago an incomplete, not because of anything other than the fact that they should have fired their coaching staff last year, and Caleb Williams should have came in with a fresh coaching staff, with fresh offensive ideas, with fresh everything. This draft class could turn out because 4 out of the 5 guys, I don't know if Torrey Taylor is their punter, but between Williams and Dunze, Agmajeni, and Booker, you got 4 of your 5 picks that are starting on your team or are playing and being significant on your team. You were just saddled with an incompetent coaching staff. So this year with Ben Johnson as our coordinator or head coach and so on and so forth, this draft class could turn into an A after 2025 based on who they got and what they're contributing to that team. So if anything, if I'm grading this draft class based on last year's performance, I would give it incomplete because I would not take anything that this draft class did based on the coaching staff and want to even grade it because that coaching staff was so incompetent that everything would be an F because they couldn't coach these guys. And Caleb Williams, I'm not sold on Caleb Williams. There was nothing there that showed me that he's going to be the answer. But in the same respect, I want to see what he does with the truly offensive coach.
Okay. And I understand, and I hear you, and I'm just going to have the final say in this matter.
Sure.
They should have gotten rid of Uberflus before the season began, brought in someone and kept Justin Fields and stocked the draft picks. But that's it. Okay, so now we're almost halfway through. We're still in the B- stages. Now we have the New Orleans Saints. Round 1, they had Fuaga, the offensive tackle, played all 17 games. The coolest name in the draft, Kool-Aid McKinstry, cornerback.
Mm-hmm.
So played 15 games, started 9. Then round 5, Spencer Rattler. Means a wide receiver, Ford linebacker, and Christian Boyd. He played 6 games, defensive tackle. So, they got a guard out of it.
I mean, I'd say that's about a fair assessment.
Yeah.
Nothing spectacular and over the top.
Nope.
I like Kool-Aid. I think he's a good DB. And with all the stuff that's been going on with Marshawn Lattimore and whether they're going to pay him, whether they're going to trade him, whether they're, you know what I mean? I think that Jeffrey came in. Look at that.
Uh-oh. Are you going to tell us how wrong we were about the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I didn't hear any of the conversation. I was delayed. What did you all say?
No,
Well, basically that because Pickens is now gone. Lazard is probably going to be picked up by Pittsburgh, and he's going to have. And Eric texted me. He said he's going to have 12, or was it 1,400 yards, 12 touchdowns, and then they're also picking up Gabe Davis, who's going to have 1,100 yards and 11 touchdowns.
And then DK is obviously going to have 2,000 yards and 43 touchdowns because
Correct.
Mason Rudolph's throwing for 5,800 yards and 80 touchdowns.
7 touchdowns a game. It's been proven by Madden.
Yep.
Yep.
No.
If Madden says it, it must be true.
You know, it's really an interesting trade, to be honest with you. And, you know, what's funny is I wish Eric was here, only because from a conversational standpoint, all of what he said, all of it is true. What he was saying earlier, like right after the trade, but it's funny to me that Eric can see those things when he goes somewhere else, but when he's in Pittsburgh, it was not an issue. But the reality of it all, the trade makes 0 sense. Long term, I mean, we'll see what it looks like. Like, who wins the trade today? And you got to say Dallas wins the trade because you have a player that's going to be able to instantly impact your team, right? And with the talent that George Pickens has, the dude is, without a doubt, a beast, right? But the problem is no different than the day that Pittsburgh announced the signing of DK Metcalf for $150 million, and DK, becomes the number one receiver to a guy who obviously wants to and is talented enough to be a number one receiver, but now he's not a number one receiver, and what he needs more than anything is targets in order to get that extension or to get that that next contract, right? So now you trade him to, it's a problem that Pittsburgh gets rid of, which is great for Pittsburgh because I think it helps them from what we know to be a cancerous situation. The comparison between Diggs and Pickens always pissed me off with Eric because the difference is that and by the way, it's an OBJ comparison. Is OBJ did never bitch when he didn't get the ball. Diggs never bitched when he didn't get the ball. Diggs bitched and OBJ bitched when they didn't get the ball and they lost, right? When they won, they didn't care if they had one target with no catches and they still won. There was no outcry. There was no sideline tantrum. But with Pickens, they were winning games and they were scoring touchdowns and he was pissed because it wasn't him. So now you send him to a team that he left the team that he was on that has a decent defense that hasn't signed their star defensive player, TJ Watt in Pittsburgh and Micah Parsons in Dallas, because they're waiting for their shoes to drop, right? Well, now you got Pickens going, so there's no extension coming because they just signed Lamb. They're going to sign Micah Parsons. It's just going to be dependent on certain things. Pickens is a number 2 guy, which means he's not going to get the ball because they both can't get the ball. CD's your number 1 target. Pickens is going to be bitchy, and it's going to be impacting the locker room. It's going to be obvious in press conferences. So you removed a headache from Pittsburgh. You gained a headache in Dallas, but it's the same exact situation. And the fact that Eric can see that while he goes to Dallas, but couldn't see it when he's in Pittsburgh, only ignites the conversation further, and where I wish he was here so we could have that conversation. But it's the exact same situation, identical. And I think that Pittsburgh wins because they got rid of a headache. I think the swap of picks, they got a 3rd round pick and then they swapped a 6th and a 5th. I mean, so at the end of the day, a 3rd round pick next year, we'll see what that matriculates into. Is that bartering tool or bartering for a better position in the draft, or do they draft a player with that pick and 3, 4, 5 years from now we can see if that trade was a win by whichever team, right? And I think that you're going to see Dallas get a rental because I think he's a free agent at the end of the year because I don't remember. They have to pick up his 5th-year option, I believe, if they keep him. But at the end of the day, it's
he doesn't. He doesn't have a 5th-year option.
Yeah, that's right, because he wasn't a 1st-round pick, right? He was a 3rd rounder, right, or 2nd rounder.
And that's what I was saying. It's like to my point, Jerry Jones was saying that he was working on 2 trades prior to the draft. So I think the Pickens trade was trade 1 or one of the 2. I honestly believe that Micah Parsons is a 2nd trade. I don't think.
Hey, so I just sent you a video. I don't think you're right. And I say why I just sent you a video. You haven't seen it because you're on the show.
Mhm.
And there is the big rumor in the NFL right now, as we're speaking, is that there's a Dak Prescott to Cleveland Browns trade. They have all the parameters set. So I think that's the trade that you're going to see happen, Dave. And I think that that's going to open up some flow for Micah Parsons to be signed. I think Dak is on the move. I don't necessarily think that Shador Sanders is going to be a staple in Cleveland. I think he may be part of the deal. But we'll see how it works out. But that's the current rumor, right? Is the Dak Prescott with I mean, it's not just Dak for some draft picks, right? There's players involved. There's a couple players from Cleveland that are in the swap. Shador was mentioned to be a potential, but there's two other players, and that comes from the girl. What's the girl's name, Dave?
Mina Kim's?
No, the Cleveland Browns girl.
Oh, Mary Kay Cabot.
Yeah, it came from Mary Kay and somebody else that said that trade has been being worked. So I think that's the trade. I'm not, and by the way, I'm not a Cleveland Browns advocate, follower, and or knowledgeable individual. I'm just going based off what I saw the video of today. But yeah, I mean, I don't see Dallas parting ways with Micah Parsons. I mean, he's become a little bit of a headache because of the off-field antics with his podcast. Like, it's more verbal. You know, I don't think he is a problem on the field, and I don't think he's really a problem off the field.
I think
And
he just wants his money.
Right, and I think Dallas is dumb if they don't pay him because he is that much of a dominant player. So I mean, it goes back to the same conversation we've had. I mean, I know we can bust Eric's balls and talk shit about like what they haven't done for TJ Watt in Pittsburgh, but I mean, it's inevitability that Pittsburgh signs TJ Watt to a long-term deal. I mean, it's going to happen. So I mean, I think for TJ Watt, that's a wait for the Rodgers saga to conclude, and then once that's done, agreed upon, because it gives them a quarterback for the now. They work a deal out for TJ. I think they're just leaving that space so they can figure out what they got to do with Rodgers. And you know, I'm really interested in that though. Like that to me, again, like it's actually funny in a sense, right? Historically speaking, right? You talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers, a franchise. And they're really, I mean, as much as I bust Eric's balls because it's fun, I mean, they're really a pretty much stand-up organization that does stand-up stuff. And this is the first time in the entirety of my life to where I've actually seen Pittsburgh under hostage, like being held hostage for a deal. I mean, obviously the media hypes things up. We have our opinions. We're not behind the scenes, so we don't know what the conversations are, and really we don't know what the hang-up is. But I know that it was reported there's a personal thing. It has nothing to do with the contract. Maybe the personal thing was Pickens being moved. I don't know. But what's interesting is that as we're actually watching an organization as you know, held up in such high esteem be played, and it's not, it's actually kind of disrespectful to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the fact that Pittsburgh's actually lobbying for it and playing into it, it's kind of, I mean, I know what they need, so I get it, and they don't want to just fold the season. I get that as well, but the fact that they're playing the game of a player, right? Because they've always done very, very well historically of saying, okay, player, we're not going to be held hostage by you. Like it, love it. I mean, hell, some of the Hall of Fame players, right? Some of the players that had you know, stellar careers, but had wanted to play the game with Pittsburgh about, hey, I'm going to hold out, I'm going to stand out, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. Well, they've been gone. You know, I mean, they don't play with that stuff. So, I mean, Le'Veon Bell is probably the most recent that we can think of that played the game. He set out a whole year, then went to the Jets, right? Good on him. Sucked for him as well, right? But I mean, Harrison ended up going to New England, like all these things, right? So I just say that because watching what's happening with Pittsburgh right now is just they are the Cleveland Browns of right now. As much as Cleveland's doing Cleveland shit, because they will, it's crazy to see Pittsburgh actually being in the middle of something like this. To me personally, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, and like I said earlier, when we first came on and we're talking about all this, to me, if I'm Pittsburgh, get Will Howard ready to be your quarterback, and just move on from Aaron Rodgers. Just do what you got to do with the season, and you know, don't worry about if Tomlin has a winning record or not. Okay, because you did yourself a disservice by not being ready when Ben Roethlisberger finally retired. Because
Well,
you didn't want to disrespect Ben Roethlisberger by drafting his successor while he was still playing.
I don't think that's necessarily true. When you consider who they did draft, Dave, before they just didn't pan out to be the
Mason
guy.
Rudolph.
Well, they drafted Duck Dynasty, right? They drafted Mason Rudolph. Look, in the grand scheme of things, I don't. Going back in time, we can sit there and we can say now that Mason Rudolph's not. I don't think Mason Rudolph's the guy, but I don't think Pittsburgh was not on board with Mason Rudolph being the guy. He had to prove himself, and I don't think he's done a good job. And that's why when Eric says stuff about he's going to have a great season, I know he's playing Madden. And I also know that he actually is he's fan driven, right? He loves the Steelers. Mason Rudolph has never thrown for more than 1,300 yards in a year. I mean, so he could throw a deep ball, but if he can't stand up, then it's gonna be a problem. And I don't necessarily think their running game is going to help him much. But all that being said, I think they did draft people to think that they were going to be able to at least sustain. If it's not going to be like if Mason Rudolph's not going to be the franchise, right? Or if Duck Dynasty, what's his name for real? I call him Duck Dynasty. Duck Hodges.
Duck Hodges.
Yeah, Duck Hodges, right? If he's not going to be the franchise, okay, so be it. And they, I mean, I think they did a good job by planning for Kenny Pickett to be the next guy, but I didn't think Kenny Pickett was that guy, right? But all these folks they do their homework and they pick guys, and I think that in the grand scheme of things, they felt as though all three of those guys were going to be competitive in the realm in which they were going to be. But the problem is that it didn't turn out that way, and that's why they've had to resort to the Russell Wilson, the guys that are going to be even Aaron Rodgers, a bridge quarterback for the next guy, and hopes. And it's funny, Dave, because in a very short period of time, people have gone that are older and won Super Bowls, right? And now they're like that. That's the trend. I mean, if you consider this, right? Peyton Manning leaves Indy, wins the Super Bowl in Denver. Tom Brady leaves New England, wins the Super Bowl in Tampa. Uh, Stafford leaves Detroit, wins the Super Bowl with the Rams. And now it's almost like it reminds me of the black quarterback draft time period where I'm not saying that black quarterbacks can't be drafted. I'm talking about the hype of it, right? When Colin Kaepernick and RG3 had those years, what happened the very next year? The very next year, Buffalo and the Jets both drafted E.J. Manuel and Geno Smith because they were trying to mirror what was happening with the other guys, and both of those quarterbacks are absolutely fucking trash. But neither here nor there was a hype. Well, now you move forward and you say, okay, let's look and see what's been successful over the last little bit of time, right? And the little bit of time has been older quarterbacks coming to new environments and winning. But historically speaking, that has not been the case. I mean, Joe Montana went to Kansas City and almost died, right? I mean, these things. But people don't go that far back, right? I mean, it's just the way it is. So I say that to say Pittsburgh's put themselves in position by paper to actually do what it is that Denver, Tampa, and the Rams did. But the problem is that they did it opposing the viewpoints. Like no one ever said that Brady was washed. Nobody ever said that Peyton Manning was washed. Nobody ever said Stafford was washed. But the team that Russell Wilson played for, the coaching staff, the players said that this guy was washed, yet they brought Russell Wilson in, right? The team that let Justin Fields go and people have said he's not there. Pittsburgh went against the grain and picked them both up, right? And now here they are looking at Aaron Rodgers as that next guy. And look, I'm not going to talk bad about Aaron Rodgers because
he's washed.
Well, he may be washed, but Dave, I can't necessarily say that to be true. What I can say is he's not the same quarterback. So when the Jets signed him 2 years ago, right, when he went in, yeah, he hurt his Achilles. But Dave, I picked the Jets to win the division that year because I thought he brought that much to the team. Now, a year after an Achilles, he comes back and he has a decent year. I mean, statistically speaking, it was still good. It wasn't Aaron Rodgers good, but it was still good. And if you could bring a still good Aaron Rodgers stat wise to a defense like Pittsburgh, if they've upgraded their defense to what the fuck is that? There's a fly, and it's like there's a fucking whole world, right? There's a whole world over here, like right behind me. There's a world, and this fucking dude wants to be here. I mean, he wants to be on the show anyway. So, but the way I look at it is, and it goes back to argue or combat Eric's words, right? When he's talking about Josh Allen is aging and he's going to decline. And I'm like, motherfucker, Aaron Rodgers is aged. Is aged. He's not aging. The motherfucker is old as shit. And he's coming off an Achilles injury 2 years ago, which one thing that made Aaron Rodgers so phenomenal, obviously he's not a runner, but Aaron Rodgers' ability to move and throw out of the pocket, I mean, able to avert disaster, because he's able to move. Well, he's not able to move, and I don't give a shit what anybody says. I don't believe that the Steelers' offensive line is shored up and is solid, and I think Aaron Rodgers will have to make quick decisions. Which he can. He's brilliant, one of the best quarterbacks ever played the game. I would tell you that man. I'm a murder this fly, man. Oh, by the way, I got like 7 crabs today, which is cool. But anyway, but yeah, so yeah, and I used Dave's crab cream. That's how I got them. No, down at the water, like real crabs, like not like the kind that Dave has. But oh yeah. But anyways, I mean, look, if Aaron Rodgers does sign in Pittsburgh, and Aaron Rodgers is healthy enough to play, and Aaron Rodgers can stay off his back, right? Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers, and I think it gives Pittsburgh a competitive chance to do things. And I don't give a shit who their receiving core is, because the one thing, like a Josh Allen, is this: like I look at some quarterbacks and I say, like Joe Burrow, for instance. Everybody talks about his greatness. I think Joe Burrow is great. The one thing we've never seen Joe Burrow without is a talented receiving core. I mean, the dude in college had Justin Jefferson and Chase, like Jamar Chase. That was his guys. Now he's got Chase. He has Higgins, and he had Boyd. But at the end of the day, I can't tell you that if he went to a talentless receiving group like Buffalo, when I say talentless, I'm saying that they're average guys that Josh Allen led the league. I mean, by in points, right? He did some good stuff. Aaron Rodgers is similar to that. Yes, he has some comfortability, but he can take pedestrian folks and make them great, just like Peyton Manning could take pedestrian folks and make them great. Tom Brady could take pedestrian folks and make them great. And then when they leave, you see what they do, right? Nothing. So I believe Aaron Rodgers could do the same, and he's got a DK Metcalf. They got a good talented group of folks. But is this Aaron Rodgers from the back-to-back MVP seasons, or is this Aaron Rodgers coming off an Achilles tear at 42 years old, and we're looking at it like he's going to get back to form? But listen, man, I've watched sports my entire life. I've watched people close chapters on their careers at ages that are unbelievable that they played that long, and they've done it because they decline, they diminish, and they're no longer the player they were when they were MVPs. So is that where we're at with Aaron Rodgers? I guess we'll have to wait and see. But the reality is some of the best players I ever saw, I watched them walk off the field half the person they were 7 years earlier. I mean, Big Ben, nowhere near. Peyton Manning, nowhere near, right? Like all the people that we watched leave the game of football, baseball, hockey, or whatever, as great as they were in their primes, hey, look, Mother Nature, she's undefeated, and she lets you know that your time is up. And unfortunately, some people just hang on like too long to be able not to be looked at as great. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I retire after my second MVP, but he still has it. Torn Achilles later, a season in which they finished fucking horrible, and now he's holding the Steelers hostage. And I don't even want to say he's still holding them hostage, because again, there could be a game plan for them, and they probably have a good understanding. And I will tell you, their draft showed that, if that makes sense, right? So if Aaron Rodgers didn't sign, I'd be completely surprised. And I think from a legacy perspective, he would damage any good he ever did in the NFL if he doesn't sign with Pittsburgh. I think that this will hurt him more than anything, because at the end of the day, he could have easily just retired after a horrible, dismal season in New York. I mean, that's my diatribe, but I mean, the trade's crazy. Aaron Rodgers still, I think, ends up there, and Lazard ends up there. I don't think Gabe Davis does, though. I think that if Gabe Davis did sign up, you'd see Eric say Hall of Famer right away, and that dude, you know, he talked cash shit when Gabe Davis was in Buffalo. So
we have to remind Eric to watch this show, because we have spent an extraordinary amount of time busting on his ass.
Yeah. Well, I wish he was here. So, I mean, look. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, when you look at the storyline for today, so obviously the draft happened. I think they picked up Will Howard. I think that's a great pick. I think he may be probably the best quarterback in the draft. I mean, when it comes down to it, we'll see. We'll see how it all pans out, right? Depending on what he has.
Jackson Dart.
Well, I mean, Jackson Dart Jackson Dart is well liked, right? But where did Jackson Dart play? Ole Miss, right?
Yep.
Okay. I mean, good.
So
It's not.
did Eli.
Yeah, so did Eli, and there's the connection, right? I mean, there's a connection, and then there's some preparation. So the one thing I'll credit Brian Dable for, right? And so I don't like him. I'm glad he's not our coach, but the thing about it is he actually has a lot of knowledge, and so the things that I've watched him ask the quarterbacks that he's looked at to talk and what they do and the preparation that he expects and what they deliver, yeah, it's of no surprise to me that Shador Sanders wasn't picked, that Will Howard wasn't picked, and that Jackson Dart actually was the guy. But Jackson Dart came in very prepared, and Brian Dable has a good knack of looking at that. So good on him. But I don't know, man. Like Ohio State. I mean, looking at Howard. I just think that, you know, I don't know. I like him.
I mean,
I just like the body work.
I guess I was just looking when I saw him work out at the combine, and I saw some of those throws, and you know how like we always talk about every quarterback looks good in underwear, and when I saw some of the throws that Will Howard was making at the combine, Sean just came into quarterbacks look good in underwear. No, we were talking about the combine and how everybody puts on a show at the combine. Okay. Will Howard looked awful. I mean, he was bouncing balls in the ground. He was throwing balls behind the receivers. He was and I mean, I don't know if he was trying to be too precise, too whatever, and trying to put on too good of a show that it just affected him. But some of the things that I saw him doing, I was like, wow, this guy got an invite.
But Dave, you know what though, and so I'll stand on this, and you know I don't dismiss what you're saying. Those are things where you have no defender, you have no pressure, you have nobody in your face, and those things are supposed to be automatic, right? Mm-hmm. But I would just my cautionary, tale, right, if you will. We let the combine dictate players to come into it to come into teams because of what they put on as a performance. With none of that, right? And then we say, okay, we'll add it and let's see what happens. But the problem I have with that is I think it works both ways, right? I mean, negatively and positively on both sides. I mean, you look at someone like Anthony Richardson who showed out in the combine, and I watched him play football. I cannot even right now, to this day, right now, I'm telling you, I don't know how he is in the NFL right now. I mean, he's an athletic beast. I get it. But I don't care what he could do at the combine. I actually watched him play behind center in Florida, and I just thought he was like, okay, cool. He might get drafted like never, and be a walk-on unsigned free agent, right? But he put a show on, and everybody came and played. Cool. Will Howard, he might not have done well in the combine, but I actually saw him play football. And I think that the fact that he's got, I mean, the one thing that I like about him probably more so than almost anything that he has from an attribute perspective is his pocket presence, right? He understands the pocket and he can feel the pocket and he moves and he whether the comparisons to him and Josh Allen, I've never liked comparisons. I mean, it's no different than when Eric compares Josh Allen to Cam Newton, and that's not even a comparable thing, but neither here nor there. I don't mind the comparisons to Josh Allen, but I compare him to Will Howard. Will Howard himself, without comparison to any other quarterback, he did his thing and he did well with it, right? I mean, I think they won a national championship, for Christ's sake, right? I mean, so I mean, I don't know. Like I mean, I know that there's star-studded players and there's other people around, and I get it, and I'm not a Big Ten fan, so there's a lot of those things that go along with it. I don't think he should have been the number one overall pick, but I definitely think he's a good pick, and I think that if Arthur Smith can kind of do some things with him, I think the kid can be. I mean, just raw talent, he's got it. I think that he's again, to me, probably the best.
I don't know if you see these comments, Jeff.
I can't see him.
So Eric says, Jeffrey, you look sleepy. So I write back. I said, he was saying nice things about Pittsburgh. He's emotional.
Oh, I am sleepy. I'm tired as shit. But at the same time, I mean, I'm trying to be very objective today. I mean, I can talk shit about Pittsburgh. It makes me feel good inside. But at the end of the day, I mean, I still think they're not. I don't think they're a wild card team. I mean, unless something changes, we'll see. But I think that they're I think they're outside looking in personally, but I'm also saying that, and it's May. Come August, I'll have a better idea what the roster looks like, right? So I don't make any decisions today. I mean, it's no different than Eric talking about winning the offseason before because they have DK and George, and now George ain't there, right? So I mean, but that was like it's funny to me.
Well, as soon as they traded for DK, that was a wrap. I knew that was over. I mean, and we said that 2 months ago.
Yeah.
So it's not like we came up with
this.
The
only thing I was wrong in, Dave, is I said he'd get traded before the draft. It's 2 weeks later, and here he's going. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's to me it was inevitability, right? So,
right. Yeah.
But I mean, it's good. Hey, you know what I'm really interested in, to be honest with you. So we got a few months. I mean, obviously there's some mini camps starting, and some folks are doing some things. I'm really interested to see how these rosters shape out. I mean, they're still. And maybe we can discuss that next week if you got. I don't know what you guys discussed today, but there's still some top free agents available, and there's still some players.
Jeff, just so we can give Eric his props. Okay, he said he was right about Alan Lazard. So congratulations, Eric. You were right that you're going to pick up a 400-yard wide receiver. And you're going to be happy with that.
No. I've already gone over this. He's going to be a 1,400-yard receiver with 12 touchdowns. God damn it.
Okay, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I forgot the 1 in front of the 4.
This is so interesting to me, right? And I understand some things, right? And I do understand the move from Pickens. I would have probably thought it would have happened earlier, right? I mean, even during the season, to be honest with you. I just he was a basket case from draft day, right? Before then. But anyway, neither here nor there. Do I want Aaron Rodgers that bad? And this is like a question you go back to Green Bay days. So now we've gone through Green Bay drama, like 7 years of it, by the way. And then I'm gonna murder this. I do not understand why he's like right here. Anyway, but through his time in Green Bay, there are a lot of demands, right? Like, and I mean, you don't draft receiver, but you watch the players that would be gone and but come back because of his desire to have them there, right? Then he goes to the Jets, and you get the players that he wanted to have there, Lazard being one, and now he goes to the Steelers potentially, and Lazard's on his way. But why? Look, I didn't draft this receiver group. I didn't draft him. I mean, when you look at, like, I'm not huge on the Steelers receiving room, right? But I don't think it's a bad receiving room. Adding Lazard at this age and at this time, it's like, okay, Aaron, you got some comfortability stuff, which is fine, but you want to bring Lazard in because he's comfortable with you. But what about the $150 million motherfucking receiver I just brought in here? What about the draft choices that I've put out there to bring in talent? Because what you're telling me is we didn't do a good job as an organization to bring in talented receivers. So I'm going to let you come in with your guy who doesn't fit into my scheme, but he fits in. What did he say?
He said Jeff Blackface ain't cool.
Yeah. Well, my mother, look, my light was on in my kitchen. My mom turned it off. I don't know. Ma, meatloaf. But
I don't know what she does back there.
I don't know what she does back there. Hey, baby, yeah, there you go. What is that? Oh, what you got? Come on, baby. But yeah. So anyway, man, I just don't get the Lazard deal. The dude was good, like, for a year.
He hasn't been traded yet, has he?
No.
He is not.
No, but it's just rumors. It's open, Dave. Yeah. It's open. Say hi, Uncle David.
Hi, Uncle David.
Hi, Key. How are you, sweetheart?
Good.
You tell him we got crabs today?
And I lost the tooth.
And you lost the tooth. Oh, that's awesome, honey. I miss you.
I miss you. Come back over.
I wish I could.
Put that on your
pillow, because the tooth fairy gets $500 per tooth now. It's inflation.
She got 10. She got gypped.
You got $10.
$10.
Yeah.
Can I borrow 9?
Exactly.
No.
Hey, it's craziness. It's crazy. Listen, you're right. I got a quarter. and
I
this shit
know.
gets $10. I'm like, listen, what world do we live in? I mean, I believe you me, if I could see the Tooth Fairy, I might
Oh,
shake the
shit.
shit out of her.
I mean, shit, I'll knock all my teeth out for
Exactly.
$320.
Exactly. But yeah, but anyway, I mean, so obviously all those things are rumors, right? And I'm just like, again, at what point in time do the Steelers just move on? And because you want to get your team ready, right? You got things that are about to happen. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers hasn't been known to come to offseason stuff. He did with the Jets, which was really cool, and then he broke his leg in half. So anyway, that didn't really help out. But he came back last year. So I mean, obviously he's. But again, he's Aaron Rodgers, so I understand it from that perspective. But still, it's like, look, guys, at some point you got to move on and just get yourself ready with who you got.
Well, I will not say with 100% certainty that Aaron Rodgers is coming back until the Pittsburgh Steelers sign Matthew Hackett as their quarterback coach.
Yeah,
Or Nathaniel Hackett.
Nathaniel Hackett. Yeah. Well, anyway, neither here nor there. It's all good. It's crazy. I am interested in some of the shit because here's the deal. It's what, May 6th, 7th, May 7th. I would tell you, I find there, like, I'm really interested in the July 20th, July 21st, what those rosters look like. I mean, I think there's still a lot of shakeup about to happen. I don't think anything. I mean, there's some organizations that are set with what they have. They might bring in, obviously the drafts. God damn, draft didn't meet their needs. They have some. They're still available free agents, so they'll make some moves. But I'm really looking forward to. I'm telling you, man, like this fly is fucking Chuck Norris, dude. Like, I've done slapped the shit out of it 40 times and it's still here. Like, I don't know. Anyway, but
Carlos got crabs, you got flies. You know what? Do you guys know what soap is?
yeah, well, we don't.
Get down in there.
Well, what's crazy is that, like, I'm calling a guy tomorrow to come fix my screen. My screens are broke from the hurricane and I haven't fixed it. So that's why, like, I never have flies in here, but I do because I have gaping holes in my screen. But anyhow, no, I'm interested in seeing what the shakeup is of the rosters, just to see. I mean, if the Dak Prescott rumors are true, that'd be interesting. I mean, again, what do you do with they got 5 quarterbacks in their quarterback room right now, and that's not going to be real. Where's Kenny Pickett land? What happens with the Raiders? Because the Raiders have Geno Smith. What are they going to do? Are they satisfied with that? I mean, I just think that there's some movement. I listened to Tom Brady's interview yesterday, and it was pretty interesting because they talked about Shedeur Sanders and why he didn't draft him or what was it? And he said, I had no conversations about the draft. I had no input into the planning process. And whoever was interviewing him said, well, Skip Bayless, put it right here and put a thing. And he goes, well, that's the problem, is that the media sucks. They say whatever the fuck they want and people believe that, right? And so what Tom Brady basically said was, I didn't have any input. They're saying I did, but neither here nor there. But he said he did have a conversation with Shedeur and all that good stuff. But all that being said, are the Raiders satisfied with Geno? Are the Seahawks satisfied with their move to go get old boy out of Minnesota? So there's some things that are interesting. I guess the most near to us right now is the release of the schedule on May 14th. That'll be an interesting conversation, I'm sure, because there'll be some primetime games. I think that the NFL is hoping that Aaron Rodgers signs with Pittsburgh before the 14th, so they can actually, use him for whatever value they have, because there is no primetime Steelers game without a quarterback. And right now, Mason Rudolph isn't going to be the guy that brings the people to the stadium, right? So anyway, that'd be interesting.
7 touchdowns per game, says differently. So anyway, with that being said, we got halfway through the draft grades of the 2024 draft.
Until I came in and was talking shit.
Yeah.
It's 2025, Sean. It's 2025, Sean.
I know. We're going over last year's draft.
Oh.
And so
Okay.
like next year we're gonna go over because people are like, oh, they get an A.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we'll see after a year. Do they get an A?
Oh no. So real quick, and I apologize. So the draft grades that you were going over are last year's grades from last year's draft, what they graded them at.
No.
Okay, so
last year's grades now. like
Okay.
after a year of playing.
Okay. Well, did you compare them from what the original draft grade was to what the grade actually is? Is that what you're doing?
No, we didn't.
Okay.
No,
Well,
I would
I'm
love to see that though.
Yeah, I say that because I'll take you upstairs in 1 second, baby. I gotta take my daughter to bed. But so anyway, I would be interested because you look at some of the draft grades, and I remember Ryan, and I'm using Eric as a specific thing. And see, he sent us, hey, Steelers draft grade is this, Buffalo's draft grade was that, ha ha ha, whatever it was, and that's cool, and I get it. But again, I'm a skeptic anyway, right? So draft grades don't mean shit until they actually play. So I'd really like to see, they graded them at A. Did they get a worth from it, right? I mean, Roman Wilson didn't play at all, right? I mean, the dude never played, so I mean, so that's one guy. But you look at Buffalo's draft grade. I think it was B, if I'm not mistaken, from last year. I may be wrong, but out of our draft class, did we really get a B? I mean, because I don't think that we had the production from our rookies like I think they expected.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's a great segment. I apologize that I interrupted you guys' thing just to go on a diatribe.
No, that's fine. No, I mean
That's okay. I'm looking to where the
Buffalo's probably a C minus.
Yeah.
Buffalo is a D plus.
Yeah, and I would have said that. Yeah, whatever, Eric.
Well, but what were they? What were they graded last year? Weren't they graded a B? Like at the draft, they were graded a B.
Like even everyone this year was graded A's or B's, maybe
Right.
B minus. But they had friggin'.
I'm sorry, we're going to bring this up real quick and then just move on. Pittsburgh Steelers got a B for last year.
Mm.
They had Troy Fountaino, Zach
Fashano.
Frazier, Roman Wilson, Peyton Wilson, Mason McCormick, Logan Lee, and Ryan Watts. And that's their number one draft pick played in one game.
Yep. I mean, so I would say that grade is far off for this year. I mean, obviously, I think they could come back and do some great things. I mean, I like Peyton Wilson, but he didn't play. He wasn't a full. I mean, look, his interception against Baltimore is enough to make him an A. But the rest of that draft class was down in the C's, D's, and Roman Wilson, I'd give an F or did not show. Right, like he would not even get a grade because he didn't even attend class. That's kind of
well, and that's the thing, and again. I'm not saying that it had all of them played and performed that they wouldn't be where they got in NFL's draft grades today.
Mhm.
But when two of your top four picks are shelved all year, how can you give that draft class a B? I mean, that's like saying like giving a draft class a grade based on, well, they drafted this guy, so we're going to automatically give him an A for that pick. Well, you don't know what the hell he is because he didn't suit up. He didn't take the field.
Right.
And that's why.
100%.
So again, Buffalo gets a C plus. That's where I would have put him at because based on the production from their rookies, that's what they desered.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I would think that they were the D plus that Sean. That makes sense to me. Like I wouldn't argue it, right? I mean,
yeah.
And again, I love this conversation. This is actually probably one of the better conversations.
But the one thing that I will say that people seemed to, and whether it's Bills fans or just people in general, Keon Coleman was not drafted to take Stephon Diggs' place.
No.
And so when you get rid of Stephon Diggs and you bring in a Keon Coleman, everybody assumes that he's got to be Stephon Diggs. Otherwise, this is a failing draft class. Mm-hmm. And it's the furthest thing from the truth because you're not. You didn't draft a guy. What up, Eric? You didn't draft a guy in Keon Coleman to be Stephon Diggs. That was not what the intent was.
Okay,
based on our offense.
Hold on 1 second. See, guys, my setup here. I'll share it with you. I'm in the process of getting my room redone here, and Bailey has to build my desk tomorrow. But soon I'll be joining you again because he lost his. He's been using my iPad as his schoolwork my laptop for schoolwork. Eli's got my iPad. because his Bailey's iPad got stolen at school. So I got my own little setup going on here, and I'll be joining you here shortly where I won't be on my phone.
Good.
Couple things. Jeff, I know it's exhausting because we're going to be doing this in about 5 hours when we get up and go. So I know that's coming again. So we both have to make sure we get our beauty rest, right? But I love you, and you're starting to look more like me. Okay, we're almost twins on the bottom here, and I appreciate that.
I'm starting to look like you.
I think so, my guy.
Other way around.
There's some confusion in the way this shit works, but okie dokie.
I had a great. Hey guys, we had a great spring practice today. Things were going really good with everything looked good on running back. In the running back room, offense looked good. Did some 7-on-7, which I'm not a big fan of. Tailback counter looks great, which is our bread and butter, is the TBC. Footwork looks good on tailback counter. Guards are pulling well. Things are going well, so I'm in a good mood. But what I will say is, good God, Jeff, that beard's getting long. What I will say is, one, I was with you in spirit when the fly was flying around you. That is what I do on a daily basis. Two, Zach Frazier is the reason that's a B, because he was fantastic, okay, throughout the year. He was not the problem. Mason McCormick was serviceable, but he got 14 starts out of that, okay? So Mason McCormick was okay. And Peyton Wilson, during passing, graded out to be very well. So you had 3 players who were significant contributors last year in your draft class. Now, I might go C+, but it's definitely not a D, because I can't think of any contributors from Buffalo.
I'm not saying it's no,
Wait,
Eric.
hold on. Let's see. Wait, Dave, real quick. The comparison is unnecessary, right? And what I mean by that, look, Buffalo. I don't know what the grade. I think Sean said it was D+. Cool with me.
C+.
I thought he said D+.
Buffalo was a D+.
D+. Which I'm perfectly fine with, right? But it's not about comparison to the. Yeah, but it's not a comparison to the Steelers. But in the grand scheme of things, you could talk about contribution. None of those players were worth a shit. I like Peyton, whatever his name is. Yeah, I love him. I liked him at NC State. I thought he played great there. And the intercept, like I said, the interception alone, that's the single best interception I've ever seen in my life. It was amazing, right? And that was great for that play. I give him an A+. You could tell me that the other Frazier did great. Okay, what did he do? He was your left tackle. What was he?
Hey! You said their draft picks were for shit. That's who they drafted the first round for shit. Oh, sorry, that's Fontenot. Sorry.
Yeah.
Who? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah. Look, at the end of the day,
Right, Fashano.
I'll take a Frazier, but wasn't your problem in the center? Because I remember your center getting raped repeatedly up the middle.
No. So when Daniels got hurt, James Daniel McCormick came in, and McCormick struggled up the middle at right guard, and he was a 4th round pick, so he had his work cut out for him, because he was refinement. He needs a lot more work. Frazier was serviceable, actually. They were getting pushed behind Frazier. It was the guards that were struggling. Now Fatanu can play guard and tackle. He's going to be okay, but he did miss a bunch of the year last year.
Well, and again, that's my problem with grades, because when you take a draft class, and again, Buffalo deserved their grade, okay? And I'm fine. I am absolutely fine with the grade that they gave Buffalo, because
I don't even know who Buffalo drafted.
They drafted Keon Coleman, Cole Bishop, who didn't play. He was hurt. Okay.
Ray Davis played well.
Ray Davis played well. Ray Davis played well.
Cole Bishop, Carter.
Dwayne Carter got hurt.
He was Granger.
Yeah, Van Granger was a backup.
Solomon, Grable, Hardy.
So when we talk about long-term outlooks, right, and that this is where it comes in. I had 3 significant contributors, and one that's going to be a contributor. You have of that draft class, which is why I didn't like it. One, you traded your pick to Kansas City, you're in trouble.
Wow, we didn't get in trouble.
You're in trouble with that because you gave Xavier Worthy, who was a pretty good player.
Who was what? A gadget player who had 3 games of worth of shit.
He was
What?
weighty. He was in the weighty moments for Kansas City in important games last
Oh
year.
my God.
And so, I mean, those moments matter. Like,
So,
you
No,
know, I can't
what moment?
Dave, don't
Wait,
start.
what
Don't
moment?
start.
What
No,
moment? He wasn't weighty in moments.
listen, dude. He's saying that
He
shit
was
to get you.
weighty in
Hey,
mop-up
David,
time.
stop. He's saying that shit to make you fucking. Listen, dude ain't do shit. Fuck him. I don't give a shit. Here's the deal. Let me say this. There's a few things here, right? First of all, Buffalo picked at 29 or 30. You picked at 7 because you suck. So you had to have contributors right now. We don't have to have contributors, right? Because we already have a fucking team. Hey, but look, that's me talking shit. Now, here's the reality, right? I would say this. I like I said, I like the segment. I think it's nice to go back to see what that rookie class did because again, I go back to I am a skeptic. I truly, sincerely want every player drafted to be successful. I kid you not. I don't care what team they go to. That's what I want. But what do I say year in and year out, every single time? I don't give a shit about the draft. I don't care about the media hype. I don't care. I don't care that Geno Smith may be good or may not be. Until he shows me he is, and then he has a good year, do it again because you've never shown me anything that's more than once. Anybody can have a great season. Can you have two? And the thing is where CJ Stroud came out, had a great year, then he had a step back in a sophomore. It's not a sophomore slump. What it is people have tape, people have footage, people have film, people understand your plays, and now they go after you, right? Daniels had a great year last year. Guess what? There are players that have great first years and have great second, third, fourth, fifth years. Daniels can come out and have a great year. Until he does, it doesn't matter to me. He had a good year. It broke records. Good on him. CJ Stroud did the year before. We don't see that so often. So I do the same thing with the draft. I believe sincerely when I came on the show a month ago before the draft, and David and Sean, and I think you were there, Eric, and you guys were talking about the 2017 draft and redoing that stuff and just talk. Look, to me, that's when, like in 5 years from now, we can look at the 2024 draft and give it a real grade, right? Because again, in the first year, it's not feasible to believe that a Super Bowl winning team or the AFC Championship team, NFC Championship team is going to have the impact for their first year players as say the number one pick, where each player is a starter, right? That they're needing to fill so many gaps, so they're having to do some things where teams that have the 15th, the 20th, the 25th pick, they're filling in some gaps potentially, but they're really building depth, right? They might have a starter out of the group. So I say that, so it's hard to really tell. But in 5 years from now, we could definitely look back, and because Frazier had a good year, good. Keon Coleman didn't have a good year, good. But in 5 years from now, is it the same? Is it the first year? Are we still debating first year stats versus 5 years of what they got, right? That's where I think it's realistic.
I'll validate you because I heard 5 years and let's do it in 5 years. I'll validate that. That's why when you look at
time out for half a second, guys.
Oh.
I gotta go.
Okay.
You guys all have a good night. We'll see you next week. We'll pick off at the second half of the 2024 draft.
All right,
Sean.
Hey, thanks, Sean. I appreciate you. Good to see you, buddy.
Jeff,
all right, you guys have a good night. Love y'all.
All right, buddy.
Love you.
Yep.
All right, hey, so we'll be quick because I know we'll be doing this in a few hours. So, what I will say, and because by the way, our chats are enthralling. Someday, all the world will be able to hear about how much love that we have for each other at 7 a.m. in the morning when we're getting ready for work and when we're working.
You're fucking stupid. You're
I
dumb.
wrote the best reviews because I was all like jazzed up this morning. I'm like, all right, I'm doing pretty good on the chat. And says, oh, I've got some confidence. I had some swagger this morning because I was taking it to you a little bit. So
I was driving and I couldn't respond, and all your shit was just as dumb as it normally is. I just didn't have time to respond.
Hey, victories come in all sorts of different ways, my guy.
Oh, yeah.
So as I was sitting there this morning, but I'll be serious here for a minute. You said some nice things, and I'm going to take that with love. The Will Howard comparisons to your guy, who is a poor man's my guy. So therefore, we're back to my guy again. So we have the Josh Allen's kind of like Ben Roethlisberger. Oh, Will Howard's kind of like Josh Allen, who's kind of like Ben Roethlisberger. So at the end of the day,
I don't know who says that Josh Allen is kind of like Ben Roethlisberger.
I hear that every
the only comparison in any kind of way is their size, because Ben Roethlisberger has zero athleticism. Yes, he scrambled. The dude's slower than fucking my nutsack, dude.
And he ran 20 yards on 3rd and 19 against y'all. Do you not remember?
No, I
Right.
do. I
Cool.
do. Hey, listen.
Whoa.
By the way, Eric. Hey, Eric, I do remember. But you weren't in
and
my
Josh
call with
Allen-
David. But you don't remember. You weren't there in my call to David when I said, David, how in the fuck does Buffalo let Ben Roethlisberger, which by the way, Buffalo let a bunch of fucking slow
But
ass
wait,
non-athletic quarterbacks.
didn't Josh Allen run 52 yards against Pittsburgh for a
Oh, he sure-
touchdown?
oh,
I
oh,
think
fucking
so.
slide.
I think that was. It was not even close to a fake slide, man. I don't know
Anything
where
can
you
be a
guys
fake
get.
Hey,
Oh, my
Dave, it's so funny because like if you go watch any long run where Josh Allen actually tries to juke, because he doesn't juke. So when you look at it, they're like, oh, he was going to slide. No, he was. He was never going to slide.
It was
He
never
was
a
never
fake
going to
slide.
slide. He was never going to slide.
He
It
just
wasn't a
ran
fake
right past,
slide. He
right
just
through your defense. Just went.
anyway. It don't matter. But
if
it
you-
helps. It helps Eric sleep at night because he got
If you-
fucking played by a 52 yard run by
But
Allen.
Eric, the thing
if you
is,
listen to the chat or if you read the chat this morning, I was pretty mellow.
I was reading
like,
it.
I was like, you know what? Without Pickens and Jordan, and if we stuck with Mason here with this current offense, we may suck this year, and it may be a tough year. But I was feeling good because we talk about weighty moments. I got to, and basketball is a second fiddle. I'm a football guy. I coach football. I live with football. I breathe football. I mean, I'm doing football every day. But it's nice because in weighty moments, and we don't talk about other sports a lot on the show, but there were some fucking weighty moments last night in that basketball game. I mean, for one,
That may have been one of the best. That may have been.
Katie's lighting them up and fuck the Steelers. You suck every year.
Hey, listen. I'll say that. I'll say this now, Eric. Just only about 10 minutes ago, the Knicks had a 20-point. They won again on a 20-point deficit, so that's pretty impressive, right? But last night's game, I'll give it to you because I think if I'm not mistaken, I think you were down 7 with 57 seconds left, or 8 with 57 seconds left,
Yeah.
and that's impressive, right? But again, right? And I don't give a shit what team it is. I mean, Cleveland's a really good team, right? The Cavs are good. Indiana's a good team, but at the end of the day, any team that can do that and come out triumphant is good. But the reality is favored to win that series was Cleveland, right? And from the jump. So now what has to happen is that Cleveland has to respond, and how do they? Because that's such a deflating way to lose. I mean, football, you don't get the opportunity to really see this because it's a one game and it's done,
Yeah.
right? But when you look at sports, all three other major sports have series, right? And typically speaking, this type of defeat really dictates the outcome of the series, right? I mean, it's so hard to, like, no matter how good you did and how you had it in hand, then you gave it up, and it's hard to come back from that, regardless of what sport that is.
I agree with you. The only issue I have is just looking at that series, and when I start to look at hockey and basketball, I wish football would do, and it would never happen, but I wish they'd do 3-game series because I think it would be really interesting instead of having the season go to these 18, 20 games or whatever. Have 3-game series because I think it would be really interesting to see what would happen. But
Sure.
the Cleveland's got to go two games on the road here. If it was in Indiana and they blew the lead, well, you got 2 games at home. You can kind of try to rebound in that series. It's really hard to come back down 3-1. It does happen where you get a team that wins 3 in a row, but the odds are a lot more stacked because you've got to win 3 in a row.
It's funny you said. I said be careful what you say because you said all they have to do is win one at home, right, on the road or whatever. And I said be careful what you say. So I was talking to Devo. He's my neighbor. They came back and won a series when they won the World Series when he was with Atlanta. They beat Cleveland. They came back from 3-1, right? And the thing is that was it 3-1 or was it 2-0, whatever it was. But the shortstop for Cleveland had made a comment in the after game, post game press conference, made a comment basically all but saying they won the series, right? And of course, you have professional athletes on the other side that have the desire to win too. All that's the same, and then you add fuel to the fire, and now it's a change, right? Now you want to hang on to win, but now the other team wants to punch you in the face because you created that level of a little bit of a sarcastic or a little overconfident for where you're at. You got to win the series, and the last game matters, right? So anyway, I say that because they got to win 2 games wherever they do it, and they could lose at home, whatever the case would be. They got to win 2, and they got to be careful that they don't get overconfident, because at the end of the day, Cleveland is still a fucking. I mean, they are still a juggernaut in the NBA right now, right? So it's not as though they're just like they're not the 8th seed, trying trying to play Cinderella. Aren't they the 1? Aren't they the 1
Yeah,
seed?
they're the 1 seed.
Right. So
Yeah.
the end of the day is you say it's hard to win 3 games in a row. It is, but here's the deal: if you go look at the record, they won a lot of games in a row against a lot of good teams. So it is tough. It's challenging, but when you're the best team in the NBA, you can do it, right? I mean, not to
Yeah.
say not to say that they're not going to lose, because hell, not every number 1 seed wins the championship, and that's why they play the game. And I'm excited. I mean, at the end of the day, this may be the best basketball playoffs in quite a long time. I mean, it was.
I think so.
Yeah.
Barkley said that. I mean,
Yeah.
this has been some of the most quality basketballs that I've seen, and it helps that we've got LeBron out in the first round.
Exactly. Yeah. Now I can watch it and enjoy it. I mean, no, you're exactly right. Hey, look, the fact that Golden State pulled it off against Houston was pretty good to me, because I thought I was kind of concerned there. I'm a Golden State fan. Like I'm not a Golden State fan. I'm a Steph Curry fan. I've been but I'm not a bandwagon Golden State fan, because when Steph got drafted from Davidson, I like Steph, and he's only proven to be pretty amazing. So it's good to watch. But anyway,
so if you watched the Olympics last year, it was really cool that
Oh, it
Steph
was.
was the guy that was winning the games at the end.
oh yeah.
I mean, that's where ultimately we can get it. Katie's not here, but he's grocery shopping. That's where Jordan's the guy that's winning the Olympics for back in the '90s, where Steph's the guy winning the Olympics now. So that's why you can't have a guy that's third, fourth fiddle on an Olympic team.
They couldn't let LeBron do anything big, because he bypassed the drug screening policy. So they couldn't let him get tested for his growth hormone or steroids or whatever it is. Anyway, hey, but look, let me just I'll say this, man, and I do gotta go, because I gotta take my daughter to bed. But look,
Me too.
I'm it's May. I'm not. I mean, I'm excited for football. Right, it's coming soon, but not too soon. I'm excited for May 14th to see the schedule, to figure out what date it is that Buffalo's going to kick the shit out of Pittsburgh. But I mean, where we're at in May, I just know there's going to be a lot of plug and play from here on out. I think there's still going to be some trades. I think there's still going to be some movement, and I'm excited for that.
I'm just going to tell you guys, and we can plan this if the schedule comes out and Pittsburgh and Buffalo are playing in Pittsburgh the week before or the Sunday after September 20th. We got to go to that game.
It's a 4.5-hour drive, so I'm all for it.
I'm going to be in Buffalo.
It's 3 hours from Buffalo.
3 hours from Buffalo.
Yeah. Hey, so check this out. That'd be cool. Dave, and this is where it goes back to what I said the NFL probably wants, and there's probably some pressure on Aaron Rodgers to sign before the 14th, and I believe that wholeheartedly, because I know that I believe Buffalo. It was leaked that Buffalo's got the Christmas Day game. I think it's either Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, and I would. What's that?
Christmas night.
I mean, I didn't mean Christmas Eve. I meant Christmas night, not Christmas. Yeah, but anyway, I think that Pittsburgh Bills Christmas matchup would be pretty cool. No, I think it'd be pretty cool.
Oh man, that would just put the bow right on top of the gift.
Oh, it would. I think there'd be some depression.
I already have a hard enough time on Christmas. I don't need to be
But
drinking my
hey,
way.
why, Eric? There's confidence in you. You told me it was like going to be like 58-2, and that was when you had Pickens or some shit. I don't know, like he was going to be the difference maker. No, but look, no, I don't know, man. Like, I mean, I don't know what it's going to look like. But I mean, look, man, Buffalo's got a pretty cool schedule when it comes down to teams to play. So, I mean, if Buffalo does get a Christmas game, then obviously you could have a Philadelphia, you could have a Kansas City, you could have a Pittsburgh, Cincy, Baltimore. I mean, there is a myriad of teams.
They have actually talked about making Buffalo the staple on Christmas, like Detroit is and Dallas on Thanksgiving.
Can you imagine if we went to the game like we're talking about, and it's Christmas night, and we're walking out of that stadium together? Just the amount of gifts I'll be getting from the two of you for the amount of shit talking I've done in my life. That would.
Oh man, I would.
Yeah. we might have to I don't know, man. I don't like if we're in Buffalo, I'd do a little bit more. In Pittsburgh, I mean, Pittsburgh's great. It's a great stadium to go to, but I mean, my shenanigans may end up you may get a lot of help from all your friends, and they might beat the fuck out of me because I'd be if Buffalo won that game, it'd be rough, man. I mean, I'd be messing with you so bad.
I might have to wear Pittsburgh Steelers garb just to blend in because I don't want to get my ass kicked.
Nah, they don't do that, man. I've been to the Steelers. The Steelers fans don't bother me. I mean, they love their team. They're very, very passionate, but they're like Buffalo. I mean, you don't see a lot of people getting their ass kicked. You see Steelers fans beating the shit out of Steelers fans. You see Bills fans beating the shit out of Bills fans, unless it's Miami or unless it's Cleveland, right? I mean, those are the two teams that you could see some foreign objects getting thrown at the other players, or other fans. But Pittsburgh's respectable. I mean, I'm not fearful of going to the stadium at all. I'd love to do it. What I'm saying is, I wouldn't talk as much shit if Buffalo wins in Pittsburgh as I was when Pittsburgh got their ass kicked by Buffalo when I was at the game in Buffalo.
Until we got the Uber and we're headed to the bar. Then
then that'd be different.
Yeah.
No, but it's good, man. No, I look forward to the state or the schedule, but I also look forward.
I think the schedule comes out on the 14th.
Yeah, next week.
I think Aaron Rodgers signs on the 15th.
No, I don't believe that, Dave. I think that he's going to sign because here's the deal, right? Their schedule will dictate a lot of. I mean, you want to talk primetime games? Mason Rudolph ain't selling the tickets,
that's
right?
but that's my point. I don't think Pittsburgh wants primetime games.
No, what? Why would they not? Listen, every team wants primetime games. They get paid. That's fucking revenue. They want primetime games, and I'm sure that's part of the conversation. They definitely want them. I mean, they're going to get primetime games. How many? If Aaron Rodgers is there, there's going to be primetime games. If it's Mason Rudolph, they're going to have primetime game, and it's going to be just as shitty as watching fucking Arizona and Cleveland play. And you're like, who the fuck scheduled this shit?
Imagine with me, boys, and if he doesn't sign, it's May 14th, just real quick, and because I know Jeff got to go and I'm going to go to bed. We got to do this chat early, so I got to be on my game. So imagine with me, it's a snowy December 11th night. You turn on your Thursday night football. On one side, you have Kenny Pickett with the Browns, and the other side, you have Mason Rudolph.
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is, did Mike Tomlin not complain last year because he was playing Sunday games and Thursday games, and they had to do
their schedule sucked. I mean, they had a Thursday, a Sunday,
and a Saturday.
Thursday, or some shit like that where they
had a Thursday.
Dave, Mike Tomlin was complaining because he had to do some shit that a lot of other teams. Buffalo had the same exact 3 games in 10 days or whatever it is, but Mike Tomlin had this specialty to be out there bitching because what he was really upset about is the fact that he still had George Pickens on his team.
It was a Sunday, a Thursday, and what was that?
And a Monday night.
It was that Christmas week because they played the Sunday, then they played the Thursday, then they played Christmas Day. It was like 3 games within 12 days.
Within 10 days. But here's the deal, Dave. The reason why I was really complaining is because he knew he was going to lose all those games because it was the end of the year and they're a first half team. So he couldn't come back. Like they had to watch that losing streak, and he was like, "I know it's going to come, and I'm going to be on primetime, being embarrassed, and have to answer this shit and listen to George Pickens say, me and Russ are on the same sheet."
I'm telling you, I have to grab Bob here because whenever we start talking about last year, I start
Bob, his emotional support turtle.
Yeah,
what's up, Bob?
I have to pet Bob here, the emotional support tortoise, because he reminds me of last year being sucking. And by the way, he just woke up, and so he's probably pretty pissed.
Hey, I'll tell you what. I'm just gonna throw it out there. How long have you had Bob for?
3 years.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know he's part of the problem. You might want to get rid of him now.
Oh no, I could not get rid of Bob. Look at Bob.
Time to make soup.
Well, just so you know, as long as you have him, Pittsburgh will be Pittsburgh.
Hi, Bob.
Hey, listen, I bet you this. I'll just say this. Well, you can try it out, or if you were to get rid of Bob tonight, Aaron Rodgers signs tomorrow. You keep him, you're going to be stuck with fucking Deshaun Watson.
Oh my God, that's making me think. Really
by the way, I did hear Kirk Cousins again in the Pittsburgh conversation just today. I mean, I don't think that's real, but that's kind of they're linking Kirk Cousins because he's not going to play in Atlanta, right? So, but he's getting paid so much money that they want to move on from him so he can get paid and play. So, if Aaron Rodgers does decide to be like, listen, I'm going to go do this mushroom eating thing again and not play, well, at least you got a Kirk Cousins. And I'm not a Kirk Cousins hater. I actually think Kirk Cousins would be good. I think Kirk Cousins would be a hell of a lot better if Pickens was still there on the other side of DK. But I think Kirk Cousins is a serviceable quarterback.
He's just not mobile. I mean, he's just a statue.
He doesn't have to be. But see, the thing is that I think what doesn't bode well, and again, this is something in which I think needs to be answered before opening day for Pittsburgh, is their running back room, right? I mean, I like Warren just fine, but Warren's not an everyday carrier. I know you drafted a running back, and I mean, again, anybody that gets drafted, it's just they're a dime a dozen, unless it's Genty because he could potentially be a generational type back. They're just another running back. So, I mean, there needs to be something that makes, even for Aaron Rodgers, that gives somebody the opportunity to be concerned about having to load the box on occasion, as opposed to never and just playing back in zone and staying in. God damn these fucking dogs, man! That goddamn dog over there and this dog right here. Peter, shut up.
That's a nice wall.
Mom, move. He's barking at those dogs. Huh? He's barking because them fuckers won't shut him. Excuse me. I got him. Peter, get your ass up. Go to the bathroom and don't bark. Come on.
No barking.
Yeah, good luck with that.
No, he don't bark when I tell him to bark. Hold on. I gotta mute this shit because I'm like,
Hey, that's just hey, it's good to see. I hear you, and there's a bunch of unknowns today, and so I agree.
Sure.
But
I mean,
that's
like I said, Eric, I could this past draft, I could give everybody an A+. I could give everybody in this draft an A+ draft because they drafted for what they thought their front office thought they needed and positions that they needed to fill. This draft this year was more of a need position draft. This was let's fill, because there wasn't a lot of high impact difference makers beyond maybe the first 10 or 12 picks. After that, it was all about filling depth and filling need. So, a lot of teams did that. Like teams in the back of the draft, they probably took what you would say are luxury picks, or like let the rich get richer type things. Like Philadelphia was able to draft Jahad Campbell, and the fact that Brandon Graham retired, I mean, you couldn't have asked for a better gift to fall in your lap. But again,
gifts kept falling, man. I'm still mad that old Baltimore picked up that linebacker. I mean, I just think it's crazy that some of these guys. Mike Green, yeah.
Well, we were talking about that earlier too with what happened with Justin Tucker, and it was like, he had like Mike Green had a lot of shit in college, and like I said, there's a double standard in football.
Real quick, I gotta hop off. So I'll talk to you guys in the morning. Okay.
All right, buddy.
All right, bud. But yeah, Jeff, like I said, you get a guy like if the allegations were the same against Lamar Jackson, is Lamar Jackson cut? No, he's not. You don't want to have that noise in the background over a kicker. So a kicker you can drop, a quarterback you don't. And so, there's that double standard. Mike Green had a lot of the same issues, and that's why he was there at pick 56 or whatever when Baltimore picked again.
Yeah.
So again, it's interesting. But
yeah, it is. It'll stay interesting, right? Because at the end, it's it'll always be interesting. And I mean, like you talk about getting cut, I don't think Lamar Jackson would get cut. I don't think that Baltimore would pay him $250 million guaranteed right afterwards, right? Like, I mean, Cleveland,
exactly.
Right?
Well, I mean, but again, if his contract was due, you never know what they're going to do.
Yeah, no, I got that.
So that's ridiculous.
No, we'll see. But I think the grades are funny. I think that the idea is like, it's nice. It's nice to reflect on what draft picks they are. But there's a couple things I'd love to see statistics on, right? I mean, what I think is, God damn, man, these fucking dogs. Hold Hold on. But
Yeah.
But I think something that I'd like to see is like let's look at the 2022 draft, right? For instance, what I'd be interested in is not just the grades on the players that are still in the league that are doing well or whatnot, but I'd like to see how many of those players, because we don't ever talk about that stuff too often, right? Is how many players drafted in 2022 aren't even in the NFL anymore, right? I mean, you
Right.
consider all the players drafted, and I think it's always interesting, right? And some of the later round guys come in and they do well and they stay in. They're 6th-round picks, 5th-round picks, and they do well. But how many second, third, 4th-round picks aren't in the NFL anymore? How many 7th-round picks never even played a game, right? I mean, those are things that we don't really we don't think about or talk about. And I mean, because I think, I've talked to you about like, Brandon Bean being a good drafting GM or not, or this guy being a good draft GM, the Philadelphia Eagles guy. I mean, all that stuff. It's always good. But you know what's the count though? Like when you look at how many hitters they have, right? Like you say, this guy was a baller, right? But if you have 7 rounds, and if you only have 1 pick per round at 7 picks, but some people have 5, some people have 12, whatever the case would be, right? But go look and see how many are starters right now, right? Go to the 2022 draft and say, okay, out of the 200 and some, so whatever number picks there were, these are starters. These are no longer in the league, and do that for each team because it might be good. Like I don't know what the number should be out of your draft class. How many should be like whether they're all pros or 16 game starters, 17 game starters, or how many don't play. Like if I have 10 picks and 7 no longer play in the NFL after their second year, but 2 of them are great. Am I a good drafter? I mean, is that the score? I mean, what is the scorecard, if you will, of a GM? And I think a lot of times we grade them just based on like we could grade the Eagles on their draft. We could grade the GM based on their Super Bowl appearances, their competitiveness, the free agent signings.
Well,
But
I think if you're a GM, I think you want to. I think you want to. Your goal is probably about 50 to 55%. I mean, because you're never going to be 100%.
Sure.
You might get that class where they can be contributors. And again, I mean, what is the definition of a success rate? Are you talking about if you have 7 picks and 3 of your picks are starters and you have 4 that are depth players but still contribute, and you hit 100% that year of your class. The next class you get 2 starters out of 10 picks, and then you have 8 who aren't in the NFL after 2 years.
Right.
So,
I mean, but Dave, but see, here's the problem with that, and these are the variables that would have to be considered. Right? Is again, you go to a team like Philadelphia who just won the Super Bowl.
yeah,
They lost a few players, they gained a few players, right? But in free agency, and now you have to fill minimal needs, right? Because that's what you have. I mean, now San Francisco on the other hand went to the Super Bowl and they lost everybody, so they had to fill a bunch of things, right? But you look at Philadelphia's needs for right now because all they got to do is fill in some holes, and they did that through free agency, and then they drafted a couple guys. How many of those guys are going to ever start, and how many of those careers end because they don't get a chance because of the fact that they were drafted for depth on a team that won the Super Bowl, right? Meanwhile, Tennessee, they needed everything. New England needed everything, right? So they put these guys in. They're instant starters. They're instant players, and they could define and develop themselves and show that they're worth value. So even after the 4th year, if they don't re-sign with the team that they got drafted by, they could very well move on to another team because they've already shown potential. So I just think that there's things that it's not equal across the board for a grading perspective. You'd have to have a curve, right? You'd have to have some conversation.
Sure. I mean, look at Geno Smith. It took him how many years before he became relevant? I mean, he was drafted in 2013. He didn't become relevant until 2022. I mean, it took him 9 years to become a relevant player in the NFL.
Yeah, and only for 1 season, and then after that, I was like, okay, back to Geno being Geno, right?
But I mean, but he was more relevant. At least he was more.
Right. He was still a starter. He was still a starter.
Right. He was more 9 years later than he ever was his first.
All right, you're right. So do you give credit for the Jets GM for drafting him, or do you give credit to the Seahawks for bringing him? Right.
I give credit for his his relentless ability to try to continue to develop and not let
Well,
the
sure,
failure the failure. But sure,
but a general manager had to say, you know what? Regardless of the last 8 years, he hasn't done a damn thing. He hasn't
sure,
even shown that he could be a backup level on a starter. But I'm going to take a shot on this guy, and they
right,
did it, and he played tremendous. Right? There was no pressure on him, and he was damn near. I mean, and for all intents and purposes, throughout all of our shows up until the end. Not for me, by the way. He was
right,
always mentioned in some manner being the MVP or an MVP candidate, and I was like, get out of here. But that was just me being a hater because in real life,
sure,
statistically speaking, he definitely was up there because he had high touchdowns, low interceptions, and he was playing good football. But
right,
again, my thing was he had a great year. Can he do it
sure,
tomorrow or next year? Right, and those are the things that I ask about everybody. Right. So anyway,
right,
no,
and
I think it's always an interesting conversation. I think it could always be brought up, and I think it can always be whether analyzed correctly or incorrectly. It could be argued for or against, and it'll never be a perfect science, and it will never have a
sure.
perfect grade. But at the end of the day, good on the GMs for making good choices. I hope
I would love to have either a GM or former GM on this show to really get their perspective on what
oh
they consider
what's interesting, Dave. I listen routinely. Bill Polian comes on. What is it? The change, moving the chains.
uh-huh.
He very insightful. Obviously, I like Bill Polian from Buffalo, from Indy. I mean, I
Mhm.
Carolina, all of it. I think he's probably one of the better GMs ever to be a GM, right? He's built contenders everywhere he's gone. I mean, he went to the Super Bowl with Carolina. He won a Super Bowl with Indianapolis. He went to 4 Super Bowls with Buffalo, or 3, right? He won the GM on the 4th Super Bowl. Wasn't that Butler?
Mhm.
I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
neither here nor there. But he always comes in, especially with draft in the conversation. He comes in with free agent conversations, understanding what you have to grade, how you grade it, and again, this goes back to my conversation and why I'm adamant about the Pickens thing, right? And it's not just Pickens because it's Pickens this year. It was Lamar Jackson years before, and the conversation I had, especially specifically dealing in the wide receiver space, is that there aren't you might see a wide receiver at the end of their career want to go play with Lamar Jackson, but what you don't see is a prime receiver that's a Justin Jefferson saying, let me go play with Lamar Jackson. You don't see a guy who's trying to get that second contract wanting to go play with Lamar Jackson. And it's because why? Because Lamar Jackson doesn't have high numbers of pass yards. He doesn't have high numbers of targets. He doesn't do that stuff. That's not a consistent thing in his game. And when you look at Pickens, who was the number one receiver, who's working to play on that second contract, they get paid based on statistical data, not based on potential. I mean,
Mhm.
the only I mean, there's obviously some extenuating circumstances, or what do you call it, to the rule, exceptions to the rule, like Jacksonville overpaid for Zay Jones, and Jacksonville overpaid for
Gabe
um,
Davis,
Gabe Davis, but
Christian
really
Kirk.
Christian Kirk is who I was getting to, and you have that guy, that subpar average guy who gets paid more just because they need a receiver and that they're available, right? So
Mhm.
Pickens might have benefited from that, but the reality of it all is that they are compared in numbers across the NFL to their contemporaries. So if you have 100 targets and you have 80 catches for 900 yards, but the top receiver in the NFL has 1,500 yards, 10 touchdowns with 150 targets and 130 receptions. Well, you're not going to get paid what that guy gets paid, and the only way to get paid what that guy gets paid is to be that guy. And the problem with Pickens is that he's the number 2 on Pittsburgh, and now he's the number 2 in Dallas. It does not fit well for him in order to get that second contract. Now, can he get overpaid by a shitty team? Yeah, but now you're going to a non-competitor, right? You go to a
Right.
team that isn't going to be up on top. But I
Oh,
guess if
yeah.
you're worried about getting paid versus winning, then you're George Pickens because he don't care about winning. He wants to get paid.
Sure. No, I get it. I get it. And there's players who are like that. I mean, and there's franchises who are like that because, again, I'll go back to the Mario Williams thing.
Yeah.
Buffalo had to pay that guy $120 million and kidnap him in Buffalo before he left, because if he left, he wasn't coming back.
Yep.
And so, I mean, that was just okay. I was in Houston and I wasn't winning. I might as well be in Buffalo and not win, but get paid a shit ton of money to not win.
Mhm.
And so, yeah.
But I like Mario Williams. I know you guys didn't like him. I liked him.
No, I like Mario Williams. Okay, I did. Unfortunately, he was on a Buffalo team that wasn't skilled in much else. Did your phone die? I think your phone died. So if Jeff's phone died, guess what? We are out of here. We are out of time. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Me and Sean will be back next week, and maybe we'll have other people on next week, and we'll finish our draft conversation. So from us from the Couch Sports Talk Radio, y'all have a great night.